and the requirement to gain some insights from this famous scientist, Dr. Gautam, and help us meet the objective should be the real objective of this session. Thank you so much, Dr. Gautam, for joining in. And we can, I think so, start with our session now. Over to the team.
Yes, ma'am. 2020 may not be a year of growth, but it is surely a year of survival. 2020 may not be a year of profits, but it is surely a year of continuity. 2020 may not be a year of progress, but it is surely a year of consistency. 2020 may not be a year of prosperity, but it is surely a year of productivity. And to become more productive, you need to become master of your minutes. Through this 3 days webinar, we too at Siagat Institutes are mastering our minutes by absorbing enriching knowledge delivered by eminent speakers. In current grave and stumbling situation, every individual, every institution, and every business sector is coping up with the falling socio-economic situation and helping rebuilding life all over the world by all means. Siagat Institutes, an educational conglomerate, is also heading the academic fraternity along with its stakeholders to give its contribution in normalizing the panic scenario. This 3 days international webinar is also one such a platform made available to brainstorm about not only survival, but also searching for a ray of hope by transforming education through global collaboration. A very good morning to you all online presenters, attendees, speakers, and experts from various countries, multidimensional cultures, diverse domains, and professionals. I, Madhuri Mogal, welcome you all on day 3 of International Webinar of Transforming Education through Global Collaboration, the Roadmap. I request Ms. Payal Manuja, my co-anchor, to proceed further.
Good morning, everyone. I request audience to mute themselves. I, Payal Manuja, welcome you all on day 3 of International Webinar on Transforming Education through Global Collaboration, the Roadmap, in association with Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Pune, Xavier Institute of Social Service, Ranchi, Corporate Gurukul, Singapore, Happy Marketers, Singapore, BPP Publications, and Pune Business School. To open up today's session, we have Dr. Gautam Chattopadhyay. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Gautam Chattopadhyay is a fellow IEEE, Senior Research Scientist, NASA, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, California Institute of Technology. Sir is working on instruments at terahertz frequencies for astrophysics, planetary, and earth sciences. Sir is developing world's first terahertz radar for standoff imaging applications. Now I request Gautam Chattopadhyay, sir, to begin with this session. Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you very much and good morning to all of you. It is about past 9 p.m. here in Pasadena, California. And the next speaker who will be coming in from Austria, her time is about 6 a.m. in the morning. So you can see that we are already all globally connected in certain way. And even though it is around 9 p.m. as I said, but I keep getting a lot of good morning messages from my friends from India in the evening time. And if you see that my video or the audio is not coming through, then you know whom to blame, because all these WhatsApp good morning messages. So we are all connected globally, and one of the theme of today's the discussions is the transformation of education through global collaboration. And you have noticed that I'm not using any slides. The reason is for learning and education. I think that past 2 days you have already listened to too many lectures, so I'm not going to give you any lectures per se. So what we are going to do is more of an interactive session, discussions, so that you can ask me questions, and not that I know the answers, but we will work on it together. So when you talk about global collaboration, then I have actually slightly different take on that, because what about local collaboration? So that is one of the questions we have to ask, because we are in a connected world. That is true. That globally we are all connected. However, if we ignore the local collaboration part, then we miss out in a big way. I'll give an example. Like if you are, suppose you are studying in Pune University, that's Savitribai Phule Pune Vidyapit, and in Pune Vidyapit there used to be a canteen called Aniket canteen. So how many? Suppose there is a physics student. How often that physics student will go to that Aniket canteen with his friends who are from philosophy or biology or history. How often do they do that? Generally we avoid, because we hang out with people who are like us, who are studying in the same field, but that is not the way to collaborate. And I actually strongly believe in that. And one of the reasons, I'll give an example that why that is important, that every day at 3 p.m., if you come to NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, you will find me outside with a cup of coffee with a lot of friends of mine. And they are from all different backgrounds, a diverse background, all different age groups. Many of them are postdoctoral fellows. Some of them are very senior scientists and engineers. We all, drink coffee. We discuss a lot of things, soccer, football, cricket, whatnot. But we also sometimes discuss about, technology and our problems, what we are trying to solve. And what we realize that, since we are, if you talk to the experts in the same field, what happens is we are actually get corrupted by knowledge, in the sense that we think in a certain way. We cannot think out of the box. However, if you actually talk to people who are not in your area of expertise, you will find that you get a completely different perspective. And that is very, very important. And so in those group meetings that I said, people coming from mechanical engineering, someone is a science physicist, someone is a chemist, someone is like me who does all kinds of physics, chemistry, as well as engineering. So there we discussed our stuff, and from that I have quite a few patents came out from those discussions. So this is very important, this collaborative environment, talking to your friends who might not be in your area of expertise. That is very important. And that's why I say, collaborate locally and think globally. However, because of this connected world, because of this, we are globally connected, in that case, then you can, increase your circle, you can go global and then do collaboration in that area. And the second point, before actually I open up for question and answer, I want to make, two more points. One point is about these teachers and students. So I generally don't like to think in that way, because we are all learners, because we are students for life. Maybe, I know certain things in certain area, but you all know much more in other areas. So if you actually break that barrier of student and teacher and call ourselves all as learners, then it works much better. And another reason also I am not using kind of a lecture format session today is because you will find that we keep hearing from parents to the kids that nowadays the student, kids, they don't have attention span is so small, they get distracted so often. I am like them as well. If someone comes and talks for about an hour, after 10-15 minutes, I lose interest because my attention span is not that large. Then what happens is that the moment I lose interest, I'm not paying attention. And then I can come back afterwards after 5-10 minutes, but I lose out. I lose out big way. And so that is one of the problems. So if you actually break it up, the session that we are having in small chunks, then it works better. And break it up in small groups. When someone is teaching, giving instructions, instead of talking for 1 hour, instead just give a talk for about 10-15 minutes, introducing the subject matter, and then let the students or others who are participating, let them in a small group work things out. That works much better. Another last point is about digital learning. You are all talking about digital learning nowadays. What is digital learning? I know a thing or two about digital electronics. I built a lot of, what is in your smartphone. I actually deal with those things and design some of this stuff. So I understand. However, digital world is about zeros and one, right? This is discrete, not in analog domain. So if you think about that, but when you talk about digital education, digital learning, I think it's slightly differently. It's about discretization. What I was talking about, break it up. Don't go continuously in one direction. Break it up in small chunks, and then basically zeros and ones, and then let everyone collaborate, let everyone discuss. And that's what I think is about this collaborative environment of learning. So we always learn much more, much better from our peers. Just talk to any teenagers. I have a teenager at home. I know a thing or two about science. I know a thing or two about, maybe not a big expert, but math, physics. I understand a little bit. Our teenage daughter never asked me to actually help her because she thinks I don't know much. Maybe she's right, but they talk to their friends. They learn from their friends. So that is always, that works better. If we can actually form groups of your peers who are working together, and our role is to actually guide and provide additional help if needed, that works much better. So this, about, education through this global collaboration, learning through global collaboration, that's what I mean. And having said that, now I'll open it up for question and answer. Whatever comes to your mind, you can ask. Again, as I said, not that I know all the answers. I try to talk to you all, and we can come to some stage of understanding. Okay?
Yeah. Good evening, sir. It's Manikant Roy, and I'm a PhD scholar at IIT Delhi. It is really a dream come true. Thanks to my professor for giving me this opportunity to interact with a NASA scientist. I have seen in the movies, but I'm blessed to see you in the real life. So, sir, I have two questions. Particularly, I work in the area of data science and analytics. So, how NASA is able to do real-time analytics, and what are the challenges there?
So yes,
especially not using the data.
Yes, so data is everything for NASA in a way, because what do we do? People ask me, what do we do in NASA? We are trying to answer big scientific questions. That is the prime job of NASA. We are trying to figure out how things work in this universe. And, in that way, so data comes first. We build instruments, we build sensors. Let's say, for example, take an example of a astrophysics mission. We are trying to find out how stars and galaxies are formed, right? And how do you do that? We actually build an instrument. We have some sensors. We are trying to get this signal that comes in, that comes to us, is extremely low, tiny amount of signal. It's kind of finding a needle in a haystack. And we are getting that. And then what that thing is data. Then how do you send it back? If we are in a far off distance, then transmitting data is a big problem. Exactly. We know that Voyager has gone outside our solar system, completely out, and the amount of data that is sending back, very tiny amount of data, maybe 1 bit or 2 bit. We talk about gigabits of download, hundreds of megabits of download, but the data we are getting from Voyager is in a couple of bits per second. So it's very low. But what we can do is we do a lot of data reduction. We do a lot of storage of the data on board. And whenever we get an opportunity, we try to download. But again, the download speed is very less. So we actually plan very carefully what data we want to get back from the spacecraft.
Sir, one more question. Since it is from your area only, we talked about the signals. So recently we heard a lot about FRBs from the space, from the deep space. So how much are we able to interpret that?
That all depends on what we can learn about them, because we see all these flares, right? If we see all this kind of data that is coming in, interpretation is on us. What can we learn? That's why we need physicists like you and
Exactly.
all kinds of people, because the data that we get, we'll have to have a model. We'll have to have because we cannot really go there and we cannot really learn a lot because it is so expensive to build this kind of instruments, right? So as a result, we try to interpret and doing some kind of modeling, do some kind of theory. So we need theories to actually provide. We look at the data and they can give a theory. Not necessarily all the theory is correct, because as we get more data, then we fine tune our theory. So that's how we learn, we make progress.
I have one question, sir. This is Dr. Rik Das from Xavier Institute of Social Service, Ranchi. And the query is, sir, as we see these days, much in the news, that someone has found out from an image in NASA that there is a alien civilization there in Mars. Now, how far NASA endorsed this fact that the person has rightly identified this, or it is again something, something out of his mind?
So I was hoping that no one is going to ask me questions about aliens, as well as about fake moon landing. But okay, so this aliens thing is that let us make this quite clear, that we have not seen any form of life anywhere outside our Earth in this universe. No form of life we have found, none. So that is the baseline. So when you hear all kinds of stuff that there is a alien citation, or the Mars has a colony of aliens, these are all nonsensical, bogus news. So whoever is sending those kind of information out, they are doing a big disservice to all of us. So don't believe them, because that is not true. Because if we found something, we will be the most excited, because that will show that there is some. Otherwise, we are spending billions of dollars trying to go to Mars. We'll be launching the next Mars mission on July 22nd, Mars 2020. There is this, this mission that is going to get launched. Why do we do that if already there we know so much and we already have aliens out there? So it is not true.
Great, thank you. And one more question is that, since I belong from an institute which provides management education, and of late, St. Xavier's Ranchi, where I stay right now, they periodically every year goes for a visit at NASA. Now, what I was inquisitive to know, is there any role or is there any opportunity for management professionals to serve NASA in some way so that things can be more organized? Is there any scope?
Absolutely. So at NASA, we have people from all sorts of backgrounds. We need everyone. So whenever, some people, they study, let's say that you are studying management, someone is studying accounting, someone is studying history, someone is studying drawing, they say that, oh, how can you go to NASA? There is a wrong idea that NASA only hires engineers and scientists. That is not true, because we need every kind of people. Because, when you are trying to understand, as I said, how things work, we need every input, every way possible that we can make improvement. And as you said, management is one of the big things. We have limited amount of dollars that comes from the United States government. If we do not manage it well, with the input from scientists, with the input from engineers, but at the end of the day, we also need those, the managerial professionals who can actually help us. We look at this kind of a symbiosis ecosystem of people from all walks of life. So if you come, my next door office mate is not a very high-flying scientist. But he's making equal amount of contribution to NASA. Working in management. So it is there. So we need everyone to join us.
Do you sir, any special kind of training for these management people whom to be groomed for NASA or something like that, or general management?
My advice to everyone is learn your basics right. Whatever you are learning, doesn't matter. You learn your basics. When you come here, you will contribute. You do not need to study do marketing management or some other kind of management. No, whatever you are learning, learn it well. That is the key. The best way to contribute well is to learn it well. Learn the basics well. That's what we need.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Reek, and thank you, Manikant. We will have your questions again. Let the school students who are waiting to question Dr. Gautam join in, and let's have you students ask him a few questions, say 5 to 6, and we can all hear to your questions, and then let Dr. Gautam answer them as well. Hello. Yes, okay. So next is my question in queue about the bat shadow, which I was reading, and about the star HC72, something has come up. So Dr. Chattopadhyay, will you be able to enlighten us on this?
You know that I won't be able to tell a lot of things because we do not know a lot of things. We are trying to learn as much as we can. So again, so what happens is that we, from some telescope, some data, we get a new information, and then we have to actually go through very rigorous analysis of those data to find out what's going on and what it is. So it takes a little bit of time for us to understand about those. So here I won't be able to go into details of telling, this is what it means. But of course, there are a lot of all new kinds of stars out there. We are learning, we are finding, we have a kind of idea of this world that it started from a big bang and all these things has been created. But, the material that we see, if you add up all the stars, all the galaxies, how many stars are there in our own galaxy, Milky Way galaxy? About 100 billion. And then we have about 100 billion galaxies in the universe. If you add all of them up, it adds to about 4% of the total mass of this universe. So we do not know so much more. So we are trying to learn. So it is actually every day we try to learn something new.
Thank you, Professor. So the students, please, first.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, sir.
One at a time, please.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. I can hear.
Dr. Sunil Khilari, sir. I have the question which my daughter is asking. I am just asking from behalf of her. She always asks that what is color of sun, what is color of moon, such type of a question, basic question she is asking. Will you please answer?
Yes. So the question, I actually your voice was breaking off, so I couldn't hear all of it. But what I understood, I'll repeat what I understood from your question, that your daughter wants to know about the color of moon and color of Mars, that Mangal and all this stuff, right? So in that way, if it all depends on what is the composition. When we see from a planet, when you see a planet, we are seeing the reflection of sunlight from that planet, right? And what we in scientific term is called albedo. So that is what the amount of light that gets reflected back from that planet. And like Mars looks reddish, we call it Mars, we call red planet, right? Mangal we call red planet. Why? Because it has iron there, and because the light, the way it scatters, it actually looks somewhat kind of reddish. And moon, sometimes it looks, a bluish moon, right? We see that blue because it actually when it reflects back, because of the light scatters from those surfaces, and it preferentially gives that blue tinge. So it is not that actually if you go there, you are not going to see moon as a blue object, but it is because the way the light comes to us, that's why we get those colors.
Good morning, sir. I'm Kritika from Aurangabad, Maharashtra State of India. And I'm happy to share with you that I have scored 90% in my recent board examinations. And I have got a question for you. So that is, you previously told about concentration. So I wanted to ask you that how do I concentrate for my further studies? Because even if I break the, as you told, according to the breaking pattern, I lost the link. Last previous time I had worked on it, but I lost the link. So how do I concentrate on my studies? I get distracted so much with that.
So I wish I knew the answer to your question, then I will become a better person because I'll be able to concentrate as well, right? So it is all about you. You know, if you'll notice that if you are something interests you, something is very interesting to you, and you are studying that, then you forget about time. Why does that happen? If I sit in front of a TV watching cricket match, then I forget about time. Why does that happen? So it is all because what our interests are. So if you are studying no subject matter is boring, to be honest with you, because if someone teaches you or someone explains to you in a very interesting way, gives you the idea, then you will find that your attention span has increased because you are actually paying attention, because it is getting inside you. Always we find that the break of concentration happens when we have a lack of understanding. We are not able to understand. It's not getting inside. And that's why I say, I'm not interested. So that's what happens. So if you actually find interest in the subject, grow interest in the subject, you will realize that your interest, your attention span is actually growing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. This is Ashay Namdar.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sir. I recently passed my board exams with 95.6%. My question to you is regarding is in particularly to the science subject. So science subjects where most of the concepts are understood through practicals. So in the current situation, how will this shift online? Like how students understand the same concepts with the same clarity?
So yeah, this is a very good question because COVID-19 has disrupted our world completely. So in the current situation, in the short term, all of us are going to suffer. I am working from home for the last 4 months, and in NASA, we are hands-on. We build things, right? We build things, we send it out to outer space. Then how do you actually build things from your home through Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Meet? How do you do that? So it is not possible. So what do we do then? What we have been doing is we all are much more lucky in a way because nowadays lot of digital tools are available online where you can see things. Like think about it. Before when we studied chemistry of some kind of this thing going on, that some kind of reaction going on in chemistry, we just saw on the page of our book some equations written and we try to understand what it is. But now, there is a professor at Caltech, California Institute of Technology. His name is Ahmed Zawel. He expired a couple of years ago. He was the first African to win a Nobel Prize. He got Nobel Prize in chemistry. What he did, he used a laser, femtosecond laser, to see actually image when reactions are happening. So nowadays, you can actually see that similar thing on your computer screen, how the reactions are happening. So what some people are doing already, here in the US and other places as well, what is happening is you get a small box from your school or from your university or from wherever you are learning from with all the materials. And then you think you are not able to do all the experiments that you would have done going there because all the equipment you don't have. But whatever equipment that you can manage to have locally, then you can actually do some experiments. However, for a short term at least, our learning will be online, and you try to learn through theory, to learn through this visualization, but are very resilient. So we will win against COVID-19 and we'll come out of that. And then again, you'll go back to your practical. So that's what the world is.
Dr. Chattopadhyay, I have a question.
Hello.
So has NASA or your college and university in general built in some strategies to make education affordable and accessible at this point of time? Any strategies which are being adopted by Caltech?
Yeah, you know that we are, as I said, California went into lockdown in March, and then they had opened up a little bit. But all these universities everywhere, we are all struggling to come out with what will be the next step, because things are evolving so much, changing. California had done really well initially because there are a number of cases were not that high, but suddenly when little bit of opening happened, people thought that, oh, let's go and party. So now the numbers are going up really crazily. So what is happening is we are looking at in the kind of hybrid model. So what will happen is that we'll have to bring students in. Some students will come in where we can maintain their safety. We can have physical distancing. Everyone will have to wear mask and cleaning, all this process. That means that number of students that we had, we cannot bring everyone in. So we'll have a limited number of students come in for one semester, but the courses will be online. So others are taking the classes from online, and then we'll switch in the next semester. So the next batch of students who were doing online, they come on campus, and the students who were on campus, they go back. So it is a hybrid model that we are working on. And of course, there's a lot of work going on, investment going on of these digital platforms, how we can make it more interactive. You can see that when we are using this, there is interaction. However, it's kind of this glitchy, right? So how can you improve that? How can you actually say, when I talk to people, I go around the world and give lectures, is so much different, right? Than when you are face to face with someone, when you are looking at them, you are looking at their faces and talking to them is very different than I'm looking at a camera and talking. I have no idea who is listening, what is your reaction, no idea. So that way, we'll have to improve this kind of technologies quite a bit so that it's much more interactive. So we are learning. We are actually, like everyone else around the world, we do not have a solution. We are actually making progress. We are working together to see where we need to go. So that's where we are.
So now the focus area, just one sec. Now the focus area, has it shifted to more of simulations, more of simulating the,
Not necessarily, because you cannot really know everything through simulations, because those simulation tools are not even available. How do you trust what you get from a simulator if the simulator itself is not really vetted well, right? So
Correct.
that is the challenge. So if you are talking about simulator, you have to use a simulator which actually is doing the right thing, because it's like a computer programming, garbage in, garbage out. So
Correct.
if the simulator is not good enough, then we cannot really say that what we are learning is good enough. So a lot of things is still about normal teaching process, like showing how things work, how the equations are done.
Correct.
But again, more of it, we are trying to make it easier for students to understand in this platform.
Correct. Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I am Bhavla. I am in standard 6. So I want to ask you that the organizations are launching so many spaceships and rockets. So isn't it polluting the space? Like so many pieces would be there. So what is your solution for that?
Yes, so very good question. I'm so happy that you are here. You are in sixth grade. You are a smart kid. And, let me say also a few things about that. I want, all these girls who are here, who are listening in, I want you all to think that you are no less, okay? You can do anything that boys can do. So never ever think that you are less in any way. So always believe in that. You can become whatever you want to become because you have to work hard for that. That is the only thing that is needed. So you all should think about that. That is one of the most important things that you should believe in yourself. So now about the space junk we are creating. We are actually creating junk everywhere. Look around your neighborhood, you'll find we are throwing stuff away. So in terms of the space, yes, that is a problem because we are sending a lot of satellites up there in the sky. However, what happens is that when the satellite actually runs out of fuel, then it becomes junk because it starts rotating and start losing its orbit. And most often, it actually, if it can enter in Earth's atmosphere, then because of the friction, they burn. Or sometimes it's actually, they can cause some trouble as well. The Skylab was one of the example. But yes, we are creating a lot of space junks because a lot of satellites which are not working. So we are at NASA has a program. We are actively looking. First, we have to identify because they actually cause damage. So a very small broken particle from a satellite can cause huge damage to a satellite which is doing well. So it can happen too. So we'll have to identify. How do you identify those? First, you'll have to identify them. And there are a lot of different kinds of ideas to clean up the space junk. But again, this is a very expensive business. Think about it. Think in your hometown where you live. If you tell people, let's clean up our town, there should not be any trash, any junk. See how difficult that job is, how much it will cost and how difficult. So now you are thinking global scale in space. So it is very challenging, but we are trying to get a solution. And thank you so much for asking that question.
Good morning,
Okay,
sir.
sir. I wanted
Good
to
morning.
ask you one more question that I have seen in some videos that there is a risk to our Earth and whole solar system with the meteors. So, is there any
I didn't understand. Can you repeat that thing again? I couldn't understand what you said.
I have seen in some videos that there is a risk to the Earth and other planets with the meteors. So I have just heard a theorem that we can pull the sun vertically and whole solar system would be placed somewhere else. Is it true?
Sometimes you will see in the newspapers and all those videos that Earth is going to end tomorrow. And then tomorrow came many times. We are still here, right? Nothing happened. So there is no danger yet because we have not seen anything that is going to cause danger because we actually track them. We can calculate when they're going to come, how far they will be from us. So it is a threat, but we are keeping an eye on that. And then if really something happens, you will hear from authentic NASA that yes, this is a threat. But most often you will find in WhatsApp messages, NASA said that, NASA said this. That is, NASA has not said those things. So please double check, that whether. Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, you can continue your question.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. This is Kanchan, and I recently passed my 10th boards with 97.6%. I would like to ask you as to what are the career opportunities in core science in today's era of data science and artificial intelligence?
Okay. So, if you are doing your core science, first of all, I want to tell something to all of you, because what I noticed is that you are all, young kids. So you are first, when you are introducing yourself, you are telling what percentage of marks that you got. To be honest with you, I don't care, because that is not important. What percentage of marks? I never ever look at this. Do not run after marks, please. What you should try to do is whether you actually understand the subject, whether you know the subject. At the end of the day, if someone comes to me with 100% marks, and that when we try to find out, can that person work with others in a group? Do they understand the basics well? That's what we see. We do not see marks. So, I know in our Indian environment, marks is everything. But if you really want to do well in your life, if you really want to make a difference, you want to be a scientist, be an engineer, whatever you want to become, it doesn't matter. Running after marks is not going to give you that. If you actually understand what you are studying, that's what is going to give you, a leg up. So in terms of the opportunities, we hear all these terms nowadays, kind of soup of alphabets, AI. If someone had studied just before they were graduating, let's say pre-COVID, just in January or February timeframe, when they went to engineering college 4 years ago, and planning at that time that, what will be most important when I graduate? And then COVID happened. What happened now? See, everything, there's no job. No one is hiring, right? So all those things, do not plan that way. You should study what interests you. What is your interest? What do you want to do? It does not matter. If you are interested in science, physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, whatever science that interests you, study that. Study that well. You will find that there is a job. You will find a job if you do well, if you study well, if you know well. If someone asks you a question, you are able to answer that because you have understood that material. If you do that, you will do well. So focus on what your passion is, what exactly you want to do. Sometimes we don't know, right? If I tell you, if you tell today that you want to become an AI scientist after you grow up, if someone actually comes back to you after 10 years from now, you'll find that maybe your interest has shifted completely and you are focusing only on AI. As a result, you missed out on learning other stuff. So focus again. I'm coming back to the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a broken record. That, study the basics well and don't try to focus on a very specific things now. Of course, at certain point in your life, maybe you will be going in depth when you're doing a PhD, perhaps. But at this point, try to understand basics, keep your options open.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
Sir,
good evening, sir. This is...
yeah, since you mentioned Skylab, can I ask you a question regarding that, sir?
Just go ahead.
Yeah, so we all know Skylab crashed in an Australian hamlet, and according to the UN Liability Convention, the launcher state is supposed to pay the reparations for it. So the reparations for the crashed Skylab was about some $400, and it seems that NASA hasn't paid it even after 40 years since the Skylab crashed. So can we know the reason behind that?
So, that is not true, because, there is the international conventions that, what happens is that when something crashes, something doesn't work, right? One of the main important thing is that, is there any danger to life? First and foremost, is there any danger to life? So that's why when Skylab was crashing, we had to do a lot of maneuvers to make sure that it is not crashing in a city amongst people. So that's where the danger lies. And then what is $400 at the end of the day? If you think about polluting the ocean, something crashing, is $400 enough? That is not, right? So we'll have to actually take a much bigger look at these things, thinking about that, okay, there should not be any danger to, because there is always risk involved in this kind of situations if something goes out of control. And country which is actually launching, they're responsible for this. So we'll have to make sure that we all work together. Sometimes, some countries, they don't even sign the treaty that they are going to, like, suppose you are going to go to Mars and you summoned, Dr. Rick, that he was asking that question about finding aliens in Mars. We spend so much time and effort in something called planetary protection. Each spacecraft, we send it to Mars. We go through rigorous process to make sure there is no biological, any element on our spacecraft. Because when you are landing on Mars, we are trying to find existence of life on some other place. We should not carry life from here and then find it there, right? So how do you make sure that you protect that? But not many countries actually follow through that. And we are, many other countries planning to go to Mars and all. So I completely agree with that premise that we'll have to take a very broader look on that and collaborate in all these countries internationally. And if there is something goes wrong, and we should actually try to make sure, first and foremost, that it is safe for people. Okay?
Okay, so good evening, sir.
Yes.
This is Omkar Deshmukh, and I have just passed my 10th standard examination. So earlier you mentioned about the rumors that goes about NASA, like NASA did this or NASA did that. So does NASA plan any action against that rumors, because it leads to a mass miscommunication?
If NASA spends all its time and energy going after all these rumors, when do we do our work? Right? We live in a world where this is a big challenge. So this has to come from people. When you find on a WhatsApp message or whatever, on Facebook or whatever platform that you are on, if you find some information, my request to all of you who are listening in is that make sure first check are the authentic. Nowadays, you can always check if something is authentic or not. Before you do the forward button, before you send it to others, double check. You are the one that can help NASA. You are the one that can help ISRO. You are the one that help everyone by not forwarding something before checking. So check, and if you find it authentic, and if you feel that you want to forward it to your friends, it's very important that everyone should see that, only then forward after checking. So you are the one, all of us, we can help, prevent this.
Doctor, your views on education 4.0 in alignment to industry 4.0, for that, the stakeholders, education stakeholders' responsibility to align it better. So your views on that, we would appreciate.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know what is 4.0 is, because in this country there is we do not call this way, but I understood what you are asking is about alignment of the different stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders?
I'm asked the question. Yes. I repeat that how do we align education 4.0 to industry 4.0 principles, and what are the responsibilities of the various stakeholders of academia in aligning that?
Yes, again, as I said, I don't know what is 4.0 is, but
okay.
What I understand. Let me tell what I understand about this. That in education, the different stakeholders are main stakeholder in education. Any education is the students, right? They are the main stakeholder. That whether they are getting the skill sets that they need to be a productive citizen, and they can earn their living. So that is the main stakeholder that we are talking about. As education institutions and others, that industry and education institution that has to have a very good, link between these two, because at that today, who the students are, they are at the end of the day, they're going to go to an industry, majority of them. Some of them will stay back in academia and others, but majority of them will find a job in some kind of industry. So in this alignment that you are talking about, that are we actually educating the students? Are we giving them the skill set that makes them so they can walk in to an industry where, from the very first day they can do the job there? Are we training them well? So this is what this alignment that you are talking about, you have to really think. And then it is not, the onus is not only on the educational institutions, because our industry really has to really wake up, particularly in India. I'll tell you something, that when suppose there is someone has done physics major, BSc physics from a Savitribai Phule University in Pune, let's say.
Correct.
And if that person goes for a job in an industry, and there is a person who has actually done engineering, and that person also shows up, chances are very low that industry is going to hire that physics graduate in India.
Correct.
Today.
Correct.
And that is such a wrong approach, because that is not the case in the United States.
Correct.
And one of the good thing about educational system and higher education and the industry education institution, this collaboration part, is that what the industry tries to see is that how good that person is. It doesn't matter if you are a physicist. It does not, maybe you can contribute better, because, we can train.
Correct.
So if the physics students is coming with certain kind of understanding, that's fine. Of course, engineering has values because you actually learn something else. But depending on what kind of job that we are looking for, it is something we should not even actually discriminate on this.
Correct.
So we'll have to, that's why industry has to, work a little bit towards educational institutions as well. So because at the end of the day, the main stakeholder, as I said, are the students.
Yeah. So we had a discussion on this. What you said is very, very right. The onus is on the industry as well as the academia, and it should go on in a continuous fashion. The engagement should be continuous and consistent. Like they're coming for the various hiring opportunities, just, telling the academia that, yes, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to train, retrain, reskill, and so on. So that's what we were talking about in one of the industry meets, that doesn't suffice, that doesn't actually serve the purpose. So it has to be like along the research vertical, along the innovation, the entrepreneurship vertical, along the skilling of even the students for better employment. The industry has to take up responsibilities, which I think so in Europe and US, it is going on in a much bigger and greater fashion. In India, yes, what do the 2-tier and the 3-tier institutes do? I mean, if the industry doesn't handhold, so there should be a concept, with one industry mentoring 2-3, just a rough model I am saying, so that we are totally aligned. The gap in the alignment is like the responsibility of both the stakeholders in order to bridge that gap. So I just wanted to understand that what was your view, and for all the participants as well, the professors and the students. So there should be a major responsibility. But when we talk about, they say that we are trying to achieve targets and we do not have time for you. That is how, no, this was an open statement made. Most of the industry.
So if you think about this, that, it is actually in the interest of the industries. If, when they are trying to hire someone, of course, they are looking at their bottom line. Everything is understandable because they are trying to make money for their shareholders. I completely understand. At the same time, if they are not investing in the student, in the educational institutions, then the loser will be them, because they are not going to get the right kind of people. So it is actually both. All of the people has to actually work together in this ecosystem. Otherwise, it's not going to work well.
Correct. Hence, the gap will still remain. and
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
due course might widen as well. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you. Next question, please.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sir, my question is how NASA is storing data. I mean
Now,
to
how
ask
NASA
is
is storing data?
yes.
So,
Means I want to ask is it stored in tabular format or blocks, means blockchain or block format or a structured data?
so it all, when there is different layers of data storage. If you start thinking about it, so when we are sending a satellite out there, right, and
Yes.
we try to send, we cannot send most often the latest technology, because when we are trying to send something outside, failure is not an option for us, because we cannot go back and fix it most often. Hubble telescope is different, that we went a few times and fixed it, but most of them we cannot go back and fix it. So it has to work. As a result, we are very cautious. We always fly something that is one generation behind in terms of new technology. And then at the spacecraft level, we have the data storage. We'll have to actually do a lot of compression. We do store, we use the most, not the most advanced kind of thing that is out there. The reason is, again, because of the risk. We'll have to make sure there's something called heritage in NASA term, and also as any space program around the globe. There is something called heritage that we are very reluctant to use something very new that has not been really tested, time tested, that it might fail. So we do that, and then when you transmit the data back, then we actually, that's very different, because after the data is on the ground, then you can do all kinds of, we do whatever that you mentioned, that we store in all different formats, in tabular format, in blockchain, everything, because blockchain is very new, that is evolving, right?
Yes.
So but we can do that on the ground, because on the ground, if something goes wrong, we can fix it, but we cannot do that in space. So as a result, if I won't be able to tell you that we use only this, because every mission, they have their own way of doing things. Next
Sir,
question.
in
Yeah.
2012, the news was come that NASA is using big data and Hadoop
Yes.
mechanism. Is it true?
Yes, actually big data has been going on for a long time, because we gather so much of data, and it's true that we are not even able to look at all the data, because amount of the data volume, to look at data, it costs money, and NASA has a limited budget per year. So if we actually try to look at all the data, then we won't be able to have money to do the next thing. So as a result, there's a lot of data out there, and then that big data, machine learning, all this stuff is going on. I'll give you an example. Recently, one exoplanet. Exoplanets are planets that is going around other stars that we are looking at, right? One new exoplanet was found by a Google engineer. Then you will find that what Google is doing, finding, planets, what NASA's job. Thing is that we have this data, and that some of the data is publicly available. And that Google engineer has interest, has machine learning and AI capability, and a lot of interest he had in this kind of data. So he contacted some of us at NASA, and then they worked together, and that person was able to find a new planet. So this is called citizen scientists. So nowadays, the big data, there's so much of data available, these AI tools, these machine learning tools are out there. So a lot of people, common people who have interest, they can actually again contribute.
And sir, now if we means how you are monitoring that satellite in space, means which mechanism you use to monitor that satellite?
How do you monitor? Because we get that everything depends on data, something called control and monitor. We give some commands.
Mechanism what?
Yes.
Ma'am, sir, means which mechanism you use to monitor that satellite?
I didn't understand the mechanism. Mechanism is not that, it's all about data, zeros and ones, right? Because we give a command and we monitor the health of the spacecraft. Like what is going on? What is the temperature? Is your instrument functioning? What are the functions of those instruments? How is the health of this, right? So is it pointing in the right direction? How do you point in the right direction? There is no GPS in space. What do? You look at something called star tracker. We know few stars. We actually look at those stars, and then we actually calculate the position of that spacecraft compared to, those. So those data, those information, that's what we monitor. That's what we do.
Means, sir, as an IT student, which mechanism we should learn about this for this?
So as I said, there is if you're an IT student, you learn your whatever they're teaching, all this stuff out there, learn, and when you come here, maybe that is already obsolete. You have to do something new. So if you do not focus, again, I was saying that there is this kind of mechanism, the data mechanism that it comes. Of course, that there's different algorithms are looking at it, that now as I said, machine learning and AI that is going on. So if you want, you can learn that. Yes, that will give you some advantage. But, in terms of mechanism, I do not know.
Doctor, just wanted to know, so your view on the sustainability to keep ourselves sustainable, okay? Yes. The academic segment as well as the other various verticals. So what, according to you, should we do? What should we, imbibe upon to continue growing or continue remaining? Audience, please switch off your microphone. In this scenario, the pandemic scenario or post-pandemic scenario?
Post-pandemic, yes, that is a very good question, because that one of the way to actually sustainability in a broader scale, that of course you'll have to live in a sustainable environment, but in terms of educational sustainability and also as for industry and everywhere, if you look at innovation is the key. Because if you are not innovating, then we'll become stagnant. At your institutions, that you are trying to, like what happened after COVID. Look at what happened during the COVID time. People are scrambling. And what are we doing? We are innovating. We are figuring it out. If pre-COVID, I will guarantee that maybe some people did this kind of 3-day webinar series, but not many people thought about it, right? So some challenge we faced, and we are now actually innovating to make sure that we are sustainable in terms of providing the education, providing the information to your stakeholders. That's what we are doing. In terms of our real life sustainability, it comes to all these green energies. In NASA, we are actually spending a lot of effort in doing that. We are propulsion, because when the kind of propulsion technology that we use, they are pollutants as well. So what we are trying to do is we are looking into electric propulsion system. Can we do that? And can it take us there? So in terms of in every scale, every walk of life, starting from educational institutions and our everyday life, sustainability is very, very important, and that's what we have to look for.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I may ask, it is again Dr. Rita. Sir, I would like to ask that in terms of innovation, if we think of innovation, then the innovation is only being embraced when it is get published by some kind of a journal which is having a high impact factor, or from a good publisher. But then, is it always correct that the innovation will be only embraced if it is there with a good journal and it is not there in a blog or somewhere else, or in archive or something like that? Because that has been the conventional practice.
So the reason, okay, let me try to answer your question, because the reason the conventional practice of high impact journals and a peer reviewed journal was there, because that was the only avenue available before. But today, that is not the case. However, one has to be careful. Innovation is, whether the innovation is good or bad, that is not really always measured by a impact factor journal, the usability of that innovation, that whether someone is using it or not, right? You might have a very high impact, paper that comes in a journal, people refer to that, but is that useful?
Right.
So that is the question at the end of the day. So when you talk about innovation, innovation is that whether something is really innovative or not, that is measured by whether people are adopting that or not, whether people actually took it or not. So in terms of, yes, you can actually publish something in a blog, very innovative idea, and people find it really, and when there's in practice, when they find, yes, it is really useful, they're going to use, they're not going to check, oh, it did not appear in Science or Nature. It just appeared in a blog, because it doesn't matter. On the flip side to that, there is a actually reason people go for peer review, because, whether that idea is really bogus or not, that gets filtered out very quickly if you are publishing in a peer review journal. You know very well, right? That's what happens. So that's why this innovative stuff that we talk about is the essence of it is that whether it's useful or not.
Exactly, sir. But sir, there is one particular problem faced in these days for these peer-reviewed journalists. There is a dearth of reviewers. In fact, most of the people are not really willing to review because of the fact there is a lack of time. Second is that probably the reviewers are not finding it interesting because this is not a paid job; it is totally voluntary job, right? Vis-a-vis the other organizations like the EdTechs and the people like that are, for every job they are providing certain kind of remuneration. So do you think there should be an involvement of remuneration as well to attract more concise as well as more concrete reviewers to these platforms rather than getting it reviewed randomly for any journal?
So this is a very loaded question, very difficult question to answer, because all of us are struggling, because I am associate editors in IEEE journals, and also we talk about these things all the time, because when I have a paper comes to me and I'll have to send it out for review, and what do? We send it to people who are experts in the field, and they will decline most often. And then how do you make sure that the reviews that are coming back are actually good reviews? But there are a lot of talks about incentivize the reviewers. Problem there is that there can be a slippery slope as well, because people will sign up because of money, and then it becomes a business. So far it has been a kind of volunteer system, and it has worked all these years. But that's why I always tell people that when someone asks me to review a paper, I always think about my own papers, that whom do I want my paper to review? The expert in this field. Otherwise, my paper won't have value. The same way, if I am kind of the expert in that field and someone sent that paper to me, I volunteer. So, we'll have to, it's kind of a difficult question to answer, because, you can see both sides of it, and all the journals are still struggling to come up with the right answer. We don't have an answer yet.
Right. So probably that's why at times we find that whenever we are going to submit to a good journal, they are asking for your preferred editors, preferred reviewers. Now, in that case, if I even mention the names, there is always a possibility that that becomes a fixed game. So is it that the journals are actually sending to them or making
No, it's actually that is the very good question, because what we do is we have the policy, at least for IEEE journals, we have a policy that if there is the authors are suggesting multiple reviewers, at most most of our journals we need 3 to 5 reviews, and we can send at most to one of those suggested reviewers, and we generally avoid sending to, if someone is said don't send it to this, someone also says that don't send it to these reviewers, we try to honor that. But when they suggested reviewers, we mostly don't go, but even if we go to one. And you know what, I'll tell you, most often the most critical reviewers are those suggested reviewers.
Right.
So that's what is my experience. So it's okay to send it to some of these suggested reviewers, but maybe one, not more than one.
Sir, I have one question.
My name.
Just a minute, in queue. And lastly, Dr. Gautam, we will like to hear your own. Please. Lastly, first the questions will come in, 3-4 more questions, and lastly we would like to hear your journey to NASA. The last.
Hi sir, my name is Digvijay Chaugule. I am studying in 6th standard. My question is about Area 51. Are there any alien exist?
Okay, so as I said, first of all, thank you. You are 6th grader, good. So where did you read about Area 51? I was going to say at the beginning of my talk that please don't ask me question about Area 51, aliens, and moon landing. And we already heard, multiple questions in that direction. There is an Area 51 in California, not too far from where I live. That area is there, it exists. This is actually a defense area. They do a lot of experiments out there. But a lot of things that you see and hear in those conspiracy theories, majority of them are conspiracy theories. They are not really true. So yes, that area exists. And as I said at the beginning, we have not found any aliens. So if you find any aliens, let us know. We'll be very happy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Sir, I have another question.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir, my question is: in this science, we often fail. Also, it is not always the linear things work out, right? So, how do you handle the failures in the sciences, especially as a scientist? You might have already been sometime.
Of course, we fail more often than we are successful. So that is the truth. You all know that, right? So only thing that actually keeps people going is that are we learning something from our failure? In our life, it's actually true not only for science. The science is just one of the examples, but in every walk of life, if you think about it, that there is failure. But if we can have the courage to pick ourselves up again, and you have to have that resilience, that knowing that I know all the time that if I'm doing something, if I'm trying to do something new, something innovative, chances of failure is actually higher than chances of success. But when success comes, you are happy, and what you read, what you see is always the success stories. Most often you do not really hear about those failure stories. So there is a lot of failures out there and more failures than success, but we'll have to learn from those failures as much as we can. There is, in NASA parlance, we have something called, lessons learned. So that is so important that you should practice doing in general life also. What is the lessons learned? Whether a mission is successful or failure, we actually sit down and has a group for the people who have worked on that mission, and we start talking about it and noting it down for the future. What are the lessons we have learned? What worked well? What did not work well? What failed? What did not fail? What was really successful? How we can improve? Once you have these lessons learned exercise, that actually helps you in the next one. So your chances of failure then reduces in the next one. So that's what, failure is part of life. So we'll have to live with it and we have to embrace it.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Hello, sir. This is Nihal Mullah from MCA second year. So, sir, I want to say you, suppose I have an innovative idea and I want to submit this idea to NASA. So my question is that how can I submit this idea to NASA?
So my first question to you is that why do you want to submit to NASA? Why not to ISRO? What is wrong with ISRO? ISRO is doing so well, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
you should
sir.
do submitting your idea to ISRO first. But if you want to still submit it to NASA, your ideas, then go to nasa.gov and you will find that they have link there. We accept ideas from people and we give credit if you actually use it. But my suggestion to you will be to first send your ideas to ISRO. Okay?
Yes, sir, right.
Good morning, sir. I'm Professor Shubhangi Ramaswamy from Sinagad Institute. Sir, my question is little different. I mean, I'm hearing you from last 1.5 hours. So we are curious about your career journey, sir. How did you get into NASA? If you can just, yeah.
Okay, very good question. You know, everyone has a story to tell in our life. If you go and talk to people, all of us have some stories to tell. I have a story to tell too. And that is my journey to NASA. So I grew up, outskirts of Kolkata. I'm a Bengali. My wife is from Pune. So I have a lot of connections to Pune. So I grew up in Kolkata in outskirts. A town called Navogram is a village. And we are 6 brothers and sisters. My father, we are extremely poor family. We actually had a 1-bedroom home. And there was all brick walls. The floor was not even cemented. It was mud. And we did not have 2 meals a day. So we struggled. But, you'll realize that one thing doesn't cost any money is a dream. You can dream. And I used to dream. I used to dream big. In the night when you do not have a full stomach, you cannot fall asleep. So it used to happen to us. And I used to lie on the bed. We have one single bed, single room home, 12 by 14 feet. That was the size. I still, know that. And used to look in the roof of the asbestos roof and then think about all these big things. I used to be fascinated by NASA. I used to be fascinated by California Institute of Technology, Caltech, Richard Feynman, all those big things that used to hear. And then my parents used to tell one thing, that for people like us, I am not alone. People who are listening in, I know a lot of people are listening in from villages, and they are also struggling in terms of financially and all. I want to tell them that never lose hope. Look at me, because I dreamt. But one thing is that for people like us, only way out of poverty and only way to reach, realize your dream is through studying. Study well, try to understand. And all 6 brothers and sisters of us, we did that. And we used to do that. And then I did well in our secondary exam and then higher secondary. Then we got into, I could not actually go to IIT because it was more expensive. So I went to Bengal Engineering College, Calcutta University. That is the 2nd oldest engineering college in the country. There I studied electronics engineering. And there I had to take up a job after undergraduate because, as I said, our financial condition was such. And I actually took up a job in TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, you all know. But they were building a telescope in Pune, that GMRT, Giant Meter Wave Radio Telescope. You know that in the Pune Vidyapith campus, something called NCRA, National Center for Radio Astrophysics. That's the organization. They are building this GMRT telescope in Khodad, outskirts of Pune, about 80 kilometers. So I actually got a job there, and that was the place where it opened my eyes, because I saw famous scientists and everyone working there, and I started learning a lot. I used to feel, if you are coming from that kind of background, you feel that the imposter syndrome that one has, that you feel that I don't know anything. All these people who are around me are from IITs and all other places. But if you have this drive and the dream, then you can actually go somewhere. So what I did was I learned as much as I can, and then I applied I wanted to study higher, so I applied for my master's first. I came to US to do my master's in University of Virginia. And then again, as I told you, that I had this dream of Caltech, California Institute of Technology. California Institute of Technology is a very small university, but with a big name. This is, by Times has ranked it time and again, #1 university in the world. So it's a very small university. They have, 42 people got Nobel Prize from Caltech. And then, but they have only 2,000 students. So I actually wrote down when I was working in TIFR on my notebook that my name, Dr. Gautam Chattopadhyay, California Institute of Technology. I was not a doctor. I was not at California Institute of Technology, but I wrote that. And one of my friends saw that and made fun of me, but that did not deter me. So after coming to Virginia, I applied to Caltech. I applied to only 3 universities at that time. I got admission at Caltech to do my PhD. And I came here, and then I could not believe myself, because I used to pinch myself. Even now I pinch myself sometimes, that am I still living that dream, seeing that dream, or is reality? Because in front of me, people used to walk by, are Nobel laureates. And where my office was, 3 doors from my office, every winter, Professor Stephen Hawking used to sit. So he used to come in the winter time. He used to come to Caltech because, British winter is kind of harsh and California weather is good. So he used to sit there. So I used to see him. I used to talk to him through he used to talk through his speech synthesizer, of course. And then, even now, I am in awe looking at all these people. I now work with people who actually got Nobel Prize, and then who are potentially, they might get Nobel Prize as well. So this is a dream. This is a dream come true, and I landed here. But I always believe in one thing that my mother used to say. In Bengali, I'll say, some of you are Bengalis, perhaps you will know, I'll translate it. My mother used to say that when she came to know that I got into NASA, I haven't told how I got into NASA. When I was finishing my PhD, and I was thinking, what do? I'll have to get a job. Then one day I got a call, actually, from NASA saying that, okay, we have seen you have written those papers and everything that we have seen. We want you to come over and for an interview. So I went, and of course I jumped. I said, sure, that's my dream place. So, and then I went over there, and what they do here, we do interviews very differently. We give a talk, and then the whole day you go from people to people, you talk to them, because we try to find out how that person interacts with others. What is their, thought, what is the philosophy, and how much, not about, solving some equations on the board. We do not hire people that way. And then I went there, and they offered me the job, and I was really thrilled. And that's how I landed up at NASA about 20 years ago. I joined there and doing well. And every day, every Monday, I do not think, I'll have to go to work again. Never. I'm always excited to go to work, because every day you learn something new. You're doing, NASA is an amazing place where people come from all over the world. The best from all over the world, they arrive. So people who are working with me, they're so much smarter than I am. So I am always thrilled. But one thing, as I was saying, my mother had said when she came to know that I am joining NASA, that in Bengali she said, Akashke chute chao, ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু পা যেন মাটিতে থাকে. That means that if you want to touch the sky, it's great, but keep your foot on the ground. So that is very important. And also I am a trained electrical engineer. For electrical engineers, grounding is very important. So we should be grounded. We should, at the end of the day, it is not about you are a NASA scientist, you are a big manager. None of those matters. Important thing is to be a good human being. So that's what I'm trying to become a good human being. I don't know whether I'm successful or not, but that trial is on. So I'm still trying. That's how I came to NASA.
Professor, fantastic. from you. It was really very nice listening to your experience and your journey. Any other questions? We would like to have you another 2 minutes so that participants and professors, and I think so Principal Shankar Navle is also there with his questions. So can we have your question, sir? After that, Varda can pose the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. Gautam Chattopadhyay, this was really a wonderful session. We have really enjoyed your session. Actually, for the first time, we are interacting with a person from NASA, a scientist from NASA. We are very happy that being Indian, you are there in NASA and doing very well since last 20 years. And whatever, like you mentioned that in Pune University, we have GMRT. Fortunately, sometime I also got some opportunity to work with GMRT. Let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Shankar Navle. I am basically ENTC engineer. I did my MTech and PhD from VJTI Mumbai, and then I did my part of PhD research from University of Rome, Italy. And even I got the invitation from Grenoble University, France for doing my postdoctoral research. I did my postdoctoral research from Grenoble University. And currently I'm working as a principal of Sinhegad Engineering College, Solapur. Sir, fortunately in our college we have tried very innovative concepts like project-based learning, and there are our students who are basically doing very wonder in different projects. But I would like to highlight one of the project, one of the student. He's an individual, basically a civil engineer. Actually, initially I was like asking him why you have taken the admission in civil engineering. But he said that, sir, I'm passionate in civil engineering. But at the same time, he is very much interested to work on the assignments of NASA. And when he was in his third year of engineering, that time only, he has derived one of the equation which basically was equivalent to gravitational force of the Earth. And he has proved some theory which was relevant to the Faraday's law, and that he like even forwarded to the NASA people, and they have recognized it, they have appreciated it. And now just currently yesterday evening only I got a call from him, and he was telling me that there is one contest from NASA floated for like all the students community, and he is participating in that contest. And I think that contest, what he was telling me, it was like to build the basically for the sewage treatment in the NASA, in the spaceship, and to build that kind of like eco toilet which will be like featured in the spaceship, and to make the management of sewage. And he has really worked on that project. He is going to submit that project. I think 16th August is the last date. Yesterday he was telling me some of the I may not be able to disclose all the things probably, as he is going to submit it individually, but it is very good assignment. And I think like NASA is promoting this kind of like the students community to submit their assignments to and he is more interested is basically in spaceship. As like NASA has already started taking some of the assignments of the spaceship, and probably in future there will be commercialized spaceships which will be like basically moving from Earth to another planets. So he is also interested in those kind of spaceship. Today, actually, I must thank all the organizers like for having your wonderful talk for all our students. I would like to just ask you if what I should guide to that student, as he is already he's preparing his proposal. So what I should guide him right now? He is not listening basically, as he is at his native place. But probably if you could help me to or inform me, I can like propagate the same information to him so that his proposal will be more stronger.
So first of all, thank you for for all the detail that you provided. It's great to know that students are everywhere. I always tell all the people that there is no country has the ownership on talent. If you go anywhere, talented people are everywhere. I have traveled, about 40 countries around the world, and I've seen, that when they see me, when they know that, NASA, the name NASA actually twinkle in their eyes, and same way that you are talking about that. So one of the great things about NASA is that we actually encourage. We do a lot of outreach and to people, to students particularly, so that they can, think about these innovative ideas, they can provide, and then, because, we only look up in the sky, we see all the stars. I think that is very exciting. And so there's a lot of opportunities for students, even in India. And that's not only NASA, even for ISRO, they're doing a lot of things that you can actually build stuff. You can build small, like CubeSat, the small satellites you can build. And then that can, NASA can launch them, as well as other organizations can launch them. Then you can get the data. So that is the innovative, that spark that is needed. So what as teachers like you and others can do is actually that provide that spark to them, show them that, okay, if you are interested, you can do something in a small way. Of course, you are always limited by the resources that you have. You cannot have all those stuff, but, we can do a lot of things nowadays with all the available resources that we have. So it is that students has to have interest in that. As as teachers and instructors, they need to provide them the guidance. As for the specific guidance to the student, I don't know, because let him do whatever he's doing, and encourage him, provide him support, moral support, as well as and it doesn't matter whether he wins or not, because the journey is much more important than where you reach. Is very true, because if he actually does this work, submits, that itself is such a great accomplishment. I know that NASA has this challenge out, and we do this kind of challenge specifically for this reason. It's open to everyone in the world.
Yes.
Like someone from that small town, that is, he's doing it, but at the same time, people in Chile, students in Chile, in Colombia, in some other parts of the world, they're also doing the same thing, and that is the good part of NASA. And we'll have to do that in our country as well as in India. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do more so that people can actually get excited about this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will definitely inform him that we had a talk with you. It was great pleasure to meet you today.
Last, I think so, 2 questions, and Doctor, we will leave you. One from Varda. Varda, please pose your question fast.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir. Before I must ask my question, I must say thank you to you for 2 things. Number 1, you told students not to give more importance to marks and learn the basics, which is more important. As an academician, I'm telling all these things. And second, why to submit the proposal to NASA and why not to ISRO? You made our job very easy. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And my question, being an academician, as all of us we know that in India, we still follow more of specialization type of education. And interdisciplinary education will come there in the life of a student at a very lateral part. So what do you think, which is the right level, educational level, when interdisciplinary education should be inculcated in the syllabus?
So I think it's from the beginning. If you think about it, when students are learning at, let's say, at a very early stage of they are, when they're in kindergarten, they're not doing any specialization. What they're doing is the interdisciplinary. They're learning how to write. They're learning how to read. They're learning how the sensors that they have, they're absorbing information that is interdisciplinary from all walks of life. So what we'll have to do, education is in an education environment, we'll have to, of course, as I said, at the bottom is a basic. Whatever subject we are teaching them, if we teach them the basics, but we'll have to have a good, we call it a healthy meal, that way, a balanced meal, the way we eat, same way they'll have to have a balanced curriculum. The balanced curriculum, I mean that, okay, you'll have to have the basics of math, Everyone, even if you are studying history later on in your life, but you need to know the basics of mathematics, because that is every day when you go to the market and you want to buy panda, then you will have to
I
know,
request all
how
the
to calculate.
participants to mute themselves. Sorry, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Participants, please mute yourself.
So, then they need to know those basics. So this is interdisciplinary. At the end, generally in our country, I think the bifurcation happens after the 10th grade. Or maybe before that now, I don't know. But, but too much of specialization. I see that, people who are studying a 6th grade, they stop studying everything else. And because they want to crack the IIT, and then they will study only those physics, math. That does not provide them the education that they need. Maybe they get a degree at the end of the day, but they are not getting the education, because we need these toolkits to us. When you grow up, we all know that when you are a grown-up adult, you need all those basic skills. These are the toolkits that you need to be employable, so that someone can hire you. It is too much of specialization too early is very harmful. That's why it is, up to 10th grade is fine. Even up to 12th grade in this country, actually, there's a lot of interdisciplinary studies up to about 12th grade. Even in colleges also, there is a lot of interdisciplinary environment, because people are studying. I'll give an example. I know that people who want to become a doctor here, they do, here, you cannot go to medicine just after your 12th grade. First, you have to do 4 years of undergraduate, and then you go to medical school. So it is, but suppose someone wants to become a doctor, they're studying biochemistry, but at the same time, they're studying philosophy. Then I ask the student, okay, why you are studying philosophy? Then they say that, bioethics is very important. As a doctor, as a medical practitioner, ethics is very important. So if I don't know about bioethics, if I don't know about philosophy, then how do I become a better doctor? So these are very important. So this kind of rounded education is so important. And that has to actually come from the parents. Main culprit, we parents. Because we tell students, we tell them, you'll have to become, a doctor, you'll have to become an engineer, as if all other profession does not matter, does not exist. We need, in a society, we need everyone. If there is no, songwriters, Pula Deshpande, if he was not there,
yes, sir.
Our life will be, pretty boring. So that is very important. So that we have writers, we have the artists, we have musicians, we have film producers, everyone. So nowadays there's so many other professions. Look at the journalism profession. There's so many journalists are needed. So every aspect of this this education is important. That some people ask me, what are needed to become a rocket scientist? This question they ask. I tell them, of course, you need the STEM subject, math, physics and all. Then you need to know writing. Reading and writing is so important. And then you have to know drawing. You need to know history. You have to know, health. So it is not one thing makes a rocket scientist. Just knowing one subject does not make a rocket scientist. You'll have to have a very rounded education. And that's why it is very important, this interdisciplinary environment. I started with that at the beginning, that when you go for coffee next time, suppose you are studying physics, next time go for coffee with philosophy friend, history major friend, so that you learn more, they learn from you, you also learn from them. There's a big world out there, so many things to learn.
Thank you, sir. That was a very right answer, even I suppose. One more question from my side. As in India, we are following a lot of yoga and meditation practices, and our dear Prime Minister has taken it to international level. So what is your opinion about all those things? Even working as a scientist at NASA, I'm asking this question to you. So do you follow yoga and meditation practices?
So health is very important. Health is one of the most important thing that you have. If you are not healthy, you cannot become a good scientist. because you will be always thinking about your health. So I run, I jog, I play, I do a lot of stuff. So whatever works for you, if something works for you, I am a very happy person. I don't do yoga, but I am not against yoga. If yoga is the one that gives you mental peace, that gives you health, go for it. I am happy because I see only good in people. That's why I'm happy. Maybe you might say that if you do meditation, it will come. Possibly yes. But at the end of the day, at the core, who you are, that is important. And all these other stuff is way the tools to reach where you want to reach. So I am absolutely for whatever makes you happy. People ask me whether I believe in God or not. I say that human beings are my God. I believe in human. But at the same time, if someone actually believes in higher power, I am all for that. If that gives you, the satisfaction and makes you do better things, as you believe in God, fine. As long as your belief does not do harm to others, I'm all for it.
So, Doctor, actually, this platform and this event was an effort from our side, from the team, to bring in people from all segments, from all disciplines, so that we are into a bigger horizon. Our ideas, our thoughts enlarge, and then we can get a broader view, and we all can come together, as you were saying, and meet out and fulfill the objectives of transforming the various stakeholders, especially the student community, along with strong support of research and development units like NASA as well. Thank you so much. And next participant, anybody? Any last question? If any is there, else we proceed with the vote of thanks. Thank you, Professor. It was really a fabulous and wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Das. I'm a professor in Singapore Institute of Management. Well, I do not have any queries for you, but then I could not resist myself from thanking you. I mean, I'm listening to you for 1.5 hours, and it has been great. We were very curious as to how someone looks like who's an Indian and working in NASA. Must be having a lot of attitude, ego, but then it is totally a contrast. You are still smiling from from your start of your lecture till the end. We are really overwhelmed by your presence, sir. And thank you so much. It was really great listening to you. It was very interesting. And you really took our heart today. I mean, today's session was really the icing on the cake. And few lines for you, sir, if you permit.
Sure.
Akash amar shikha dilo udar hote baire, kormi hobar montro ami bayur kache paire. Pahar shikhay tar soman hoi jono mono mahan. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us today.
Thank you. And those lines were so beautiful. Thank you so much. And I really want to thank everyone for listening in, because this is, great platform. I want to thank, Dr. Chandrani Singh to contact me through LinkedIn. And when she said whether I'm interested, I am always interested in talking to students and people.
And I liked your words, Doctor, that you be with intelligent people to do some good work. So let's all be intelligent. Let that accessibility of intelligence also be well propagated, well accessed by each and everyone, and let's together do some very productive work. Let's not waste our time doing something unproductive. Human beings, I think so, should be above the machines and think above the machines and do something so productive in nature that we continuously grow, innovate, ideate, and go along. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have said the words of my father. Only education can eliminate the poverty. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, I want to thank you. Probably you created so many future scientists in your session. I'm so grateful. It's a dream come true.
Thank you.
Now the vote of thanks, please.
Really a very, very inspiring journey of Dr. Gautam Chattopadhyay. Thank you for being a real life hero for us, sir. I hope all the attendees across the globe must have enjoyed talking to Gautam, sir. Sir, it is really a very nice experience of our life talking to a great scientist at NASA. Thank you, Gautam, sir, for giving us a new and apt definition of collaboration. Thank you for giving us ample of your precious time and attending all queries in very nice way. We will remember the success mantra given by you for every which learn your basics clearly. We are indeed honored by your presence, sir. Thank you once again. Good night, sir.
Thank you, and you all have a great day. And I'm sure then enjoy the rest of this, international series. And I wish you all the best. And hopefully, on the other side of the COVID, we'll meet one day. I'll have to go to Pune because, as I said, my in-laws live in Pune. My wife is from Pune. So, okay, thank you very much. And bye. I can see our next speaker is here and enjoy her talk as well. Okay, bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
In this session, we have Dr. Noila Edelman, Senior Researcher at Danube University, Krems, Department for E-Governance and Administration, Center of E-Government, Austria. I welcome you, Madam. I'm privileged to introduce Dr. Noila Edelman. Madam has many research projects to her credit. Her research publications include articles in SCI, SSCI, and AHNCI journals. She has also written many scientific textbooks. Her research articles are being published in referred scientific publications. Dr. Noila delivers lectures and knowledge sessions, especially in the field of digitalization, digital transformation, and many more. She has contributed in seminars and workshops across the globe. Madam Noila is going to deliver her session on digital publishing and literacy skills. We are indeed honored by your presence, ma'am. Over to Dr. Noila Edelman. Madam, kindly unmute yourself.
Good morning, Noila. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, of course.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Thank you very much for inviting me to this seminar. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm very pleased to be able to provide you some insights on my work, on my research. I will share my screen with you. So, nope, I think I shared the wrong one. Hold on. Can you see my screen now? This is the wrong one, sorry.
Yes, madam.
Can you see the screen now? Can you see my presentation now? It's blue.
Yes. Yes, madam.
Thank you. So my name is Noila Edelman. I'm from the Department for E-Governance and Administration, Danube University, Krems. I'm located in Austria. And I'm from the Center for E-Governance, and we conduct research and we teach on the effects of digital and social change on strategy, organization, and processes, especially in the area of public administration in the public sector. So main topics are e-government, e-governance, digital participation, and cooperation models. My presentation today, so the insights I would like to present to you today is open access publication strategies, us and them. And this might seem a bit strange at a international conference, which is about collaboration. But I hope that by the end of my presentation, you will understand why, on the basis of the research that we've done, on the basis of our experiences, we see the need for this differentiation, that this differentiation actually helps us then collaborate globally in our work as researchers. So let me begin with a premise. This is the premise to what I would like to talk to you about, and it's about electronic academic journals. Since 2008, SMEC has already noticed that they're changing. They're changing because of new technologies, new reader habits, because patterns of communication change. They change because of the impact the internet and the digital environment and the digital tools has on it. And so we have to think about the way we deliver research contents, and how we have to adapt the structures of the way we produce and transmit and provide academic work. COVID-19 has also had a big impact on the way we understand scholarly communication. It has shown, first of all, that we are in a completely new environment where none of the experiences we had previously could really help us. And so we see that scholarly communication, if you look at the research output on COVID-19, how publication processes changed, they became a lot faster. Peer review processes, which in other journals normally or before COVID took a very long time, the research output was extremely quickly, and that traditional payment barriers were taken away. So my first question is, what is open access? I'm wondering whether you all know what open access is, and maybe we could just spend 2 minutes, and if you could write your answers in the chat as to what you think is open access. Is it possible to open up the chat? I can't hear back from anybody, so I guess that the chat function is not possible right now. So what is open access? Well, open access, and I'm just saying this just so that we all have the same understanding of what open access is. It's a set of principles and a set of practices regarding the output of research. It is about research that is available online, available free of cost, and where several other barriers have been removed, barriers such as copyright, so that readers and authors do not have to pay for publication, they do not have to pay to read the publication, and through copyright license, for open copyright licenses, the content can be reused. The focus is very often peer-reviewed literature. And what is characteristic about open access journals is their funding models. So they're characterized by funding models where authors do not have to pay to have their articles published, and readers do not have to pay in order to read contents. Open access is a very important element of scholarly communication, and thus it's a very important aspect of collaboration, of scholarly collaboration. Now, the second question is more about the decisions we take when we're looking at open access. So the second question is, what actually impacts open access? So questions that we are interested in are, for example, how do the authors choose a publication venue or a repository? What is the role of institutional context, policies, and the support that is provided to both authors and readers? What are the author's perceptions on aspects of open open access, such as alternative metrics, also known as altmetrics, and what is the view on academic publishing culture? And finally, what is the role, given that so much is changing already, as Smeka noted in 2008, and as we all experienced now in COVID, what is the role of digital literacy and knowledge about open access? There is a great deal of work already on changing scholarly communication, on how it's changed over the last 20, 30 years, how the reputation of a journal, but also the reputation of an author plays a role here. What are the motivations? Why are certain authors motivated to publish in certain open access venues and others are less? So, and finally, what does belonging to a certain group or a certain discipline, what kind of impact does that have on open access and where we publish our research? So what I would like to present to you right now is the perspective that my colleague and I have. I'm the one above, Noella, and below me is my colleague Judy Schosbeck. We are the managing editors of a journal, the journal JDEM. It's the journal e-journal of e-democracy and open government. I set up this journal in 2009, and it is called Golden Open Access, so that neither authors nor readers have to pay in order to publish or read the articles here. It is based on the Open Journal system developed by the Public Knowledge Project based in Canada, and the platform that hosts this journal is an open source system. So I would like to present you some vital statistics about this journal. In 2010, Edgar Wilinski is one of the people who runs the PKP, the Public Knowledge Project, and they in 2010 did a survey of all the open access journals they were hosting, and this allows me to give you a broad description of the journal. The journal is interdisciplinary. We focus on open data, e-participation, e-government, digital transformation, e-democracy, and e-society. We are also very interested in open science and open access itself as a topic. Because we are so interdisciplinary, we have relatively open calls, and we have a very broad range of papers, articles, and research submitted to our journal. The journal sponsor is an academic department, is the department where I work, which guarantees a great deal of independence. Since 2009, we have had 349 submissions. We accepted 175 on the basis of a double-blind peer review, which means we have an acceptance rate or a rejection rate, depending on how you want to, on how you prefer to say this, of 50%. What is characteristic about the editors? So that's myself and my colleague Judy. I also forget to mention, we do have a chief editor. It's a rotating position, so every 4 years we choose a new editor. And my colleague and I, we're actually researchers. We are not librarians or experts from information science. We are researchers, and we run this journal as part of our scholarly work. I can't give you the hours per week that we spend on the journal. It depends. And we do not earn any money from it. So there's no remuneration for myself and Judy, nor for the reviewers, nor for any kind of promotional work. We have zero sources of revenue, but our subscriptions are increasing and our access policy is golden open access. So as mentioned before, there is no fee for publishing or for reading the articles. We have 771 registered users. This went down very markedly after we had to apply GDPR, and previously we used to have 2,500 or more than 2,500 users, but through GDPR, where we had to ask all the users to re-register for the journal, this went down to 771. Our major expenses are proofreading, technical support, and the design of the site. So if I summarize these details, we are new-ish. We are independent, with no budget, with a high-ish rejection rate from what Edgar and Belinsky call a developed continent, so Europe belonging to a developed continent. We are registered with Scopus, EBSCO, the Director of Open Access Journals, Google Scholar, and the PKP Metadata Harvester. All our articles are found in Core. Core is the biggest aggregator of open access literature, and all the literature is linked to Crossref. All the articles have DOI numbers. All the articles have a CC BY license, which allows authors full reuse of their work and paper. And we have an ORCID plugin. So if you register with your ORCID number, then all the literature, all the articles published by the author are then automatically linked to their ORCID account. So my colleague and I are very interested in knowing what actually impacts open access. What is it? So we ran some workshops. We started in 2016. We looked at different user groups and what different user groups think about open access. And last year we ran a survey with the registered users of JADEM, and I would like to present some of the results we gained from these two different types of research. So the workshops showed that the aim of publishing in open access is to get the most out of a paper. This is what both practitioners and academics think. So by publishing in open access, the aim is to have as much of an impact with one's article as policy. The policymakers didn't really say much about it. On the other hand, the policymakers are not really the ones who will really be publishing in a journal. In terms of quality, both the practitioners and the academics said, well, what's important, what defines quality is the journal ranking. But it's interesting to see that very often there's seen a tension between what is considered to be good quality and reputation. And this is something that the policymakers also picked up on. They said that the impact factor very often doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean anything. And that very often articles with high impact factors are actually of low quality. It's just that they keep on being cited because everybody thinks, oh, well, if they're citing them, well, then I should cite this author as well. Academics, of course, also pointed out the importance of the ranking of the journals, the reputation and the impact factor when deciding where to publish. And one of the reasons why authors tend to publish in established journals is because they're just better known. That's where you go and look for your literature in the first place. Another important aspect is the policy. And here we saw that practitioners said that institutional policy is very important. The academics, though, noted that their institution very often demands certain publishing venues. So there isn't much choice in where to publish one's work. The policymakers noted that at least, I mean, we were talking here about the European context, is that there are policies now determining that projects and research that is funded by public money needs to be made available open access. If we move on, then we had the survey we ran last year, and I would like to present some of the results. So we asked the users of our journal what they thought about academic publishing in general. Positive aspects are that publishing, the scholarly communication, scholarly research has to be published in order to better understand the phenomena, to support learning. It's a way of getting cited. It's a way of staying up to date, both in terms of one's own knowledge as well as presenting oneself as being up to date. And it's also about co-creation and about sharing knowledge and about ensuring that the knowledge that one is able to provide has global circulation. Now, what do they not like about academic publishing in general? Well, in general, there's very long publication procedures, probably because the review process itself is very, very long, because very often scholars are expected to publish next to all their other commitments, and one of the other problems is very much that the reviews are not very good, and very often there's problems, financial problems. So there's paywalls, the material, the output, the research output is not really available to the public because of high paywalls. When we look at open access publishing, though, it was very interesting to see that 43% rate that the quality of open access articles is good. So what's good about open access publishing? Well, open access publishing is very often is very close to one's research area. It doesn't matter in what area you work. Open access does provide some kind of literature that is relevant to your research topic. It is very often value driven. People like publishing in open access publication because of the value of it, because it's close to one's value of making one's research output available to a very broad group of people, and that very often it does have a very high academic standard and quality. What are the negative things about publishing in open access literature? Well, sometimes it's just not relevant, but we have that in all kinds of scholarly literature. Sometimes some had a bad review experience. Well, that seems to be a common thread with academic publishing in general. And what was very interesting to see, one of the points was that it wasn't indexed with Web of Science. By not being in Web of Science, open access is sometimes seen as not being so good. Now, what we see is that there are certain contradictions in what people are saying. And I would like you to keep in mind this contradiction, because you will see through the rest of my presentation that this is a theme that carries through. So what else about open access publishing? Well, when we asked what kind of open access the institution supports, well, we found that on the one hand, 23% of the people who replied said that their institution has an open access strategy. 30% pointed out that golden open access is encouraged, so to publish in those journals with no paywalls at all. 16% had an institutional repository, and 7% said that their institution would pay for the APCs. APCs are article processing charges, which means that you pay a fee in order for your publication to be open access. So the author pays the open access fee so that readers can access this literature. Very interesting, 31% said that their institution has no open access strategy at all, which can be interpreted either that they don't know about it or that their institution really does not have it. When we asked them what the three most important factors open access were, noted that 77% said that open access scholarly communication and scholarly literature allows them to be or make their work visible. Then 36% said it allows their work to have an impact, and 39% noted, well, it impacts their reputation. At the same time, 33% said that through open access, it is possible to have global access to knowledge. And 21% pointed out that it supports open science and the reuse of material. We then asked them whether they were familiar with Plan S. I'm not sure if you are familiar with Plan S. Plan S is a European initiative. It was set up in 2018 and is to be fully implemented by next year, by 2021. And it is a coalition of research funding organizations, high-ranking science officers of Europe, the Open Access Envoy of the European Commission, and from the Scientific Council of the EU, and a consortium of research funders, which says that all publicly funded projects that lead to scholarly output must be published open access. So if the research is funded by public money, then there should not be any kind of further payments in terms of either the authors paying to publish their work or for readers to have to pay for this research. So when we asked them about whether they were familiar with Plan S, we had a surprising 67% saying they don't know what Plan S is. When we asked them about altmetrics, again, let me just in 2 sentences tell you what altmetric is. Altmetrics are alternative bibliometrics. It can be used for people, journals, books, data sets, source code. It uses APIs to crawl all the material and provides a set of alternative bibliometrics, which are very much based on content that is available digitally and online. Again, 59% said they are not familiar with altmetrics. At the end, though, 69% believe they know about open access publishing to make proper decisions for their academic life. So as I pointed out before, what do we note here? That there is a certain inconsistency in what people know, what they think they know, what they think they understand, and that they have all the knowledge and skills in order to take decisions about how to communicate their scholarly output. So what matters in open access scholarly publishing? Well, what matters is the institutional context, the support that is offered, and the official policies. It is important, but it is very often unknown. So although Plan S will be fully implemented by next year, nearly 70% of the researchers who replied said they don't know anything about Plan S. There are certain societal factors that play a very important role. Values are important. Research should be value-driven. It should be about wanting to share knowledge, about co-creating knowledge. But there are factors such as indexes and visibility that impact the way we can share, the way we can collaborate, and the way we communicate our scholarly output. There are different types of users of open access, and it does make a difference whether you are a practitioner, whether you are a policymaker, whether you're an academic, and even disciplines make a big difference. There are certain disciplines that are much more open access oriented, such as, for example, the medical disciplines, and others that are a lot more traditional and only publish in what are called closed journals. It is also very important to understand the impact of digitalization on society, the way digitalization impacts the way we communicate and collaborate. So what also matters are the personal strategies, because knowing the rules of a game is important, but it's also about avoiding the rat race. And there are certain stereotypes and misunderstandings of the open access phenomenon. It is understood as being anything that's online, anything that is open source. It's also about if it's free, then it's not worth anything. But it's also about gaining personal literacy skills, digital literacy skills, and about having certain knowledge on what it means to publish in open access, what are one's opinions, the personal situation, and finally what one's personal career path is, as this will have an impact on what one wants to do. So let me provide you with an outlook on open access publishing that my colleague and I have kind of like developed on the basis of these results. We need an us-them approach. Now, why do we need an us-them approach when we're talking about sharing, co-creation, collaboration? Because we, as editors, need to know about them, the authors. We need to understand where they choose to publish, why they choose to publish, and how they choose to publish. We need to understand what do authors know about the digital impact on their work, and how scholarly communication is always changing. There is no one set model, and it is always changing. We need to know what authors like doing. We need to know what metrics they like using. There's no point in providing them with information that is of no relevance or no interest to them. And we need to find a way of reaching and engaging with users. What do the authors, what do they need to know? Well, they need to know, they need to clear up their misconceptions about open access publishing. They need to know about the role of new metrics. They must be aware of institutional requirements, of policy requirements, and they must know more about digital literacy. So they must develop their digital literacy skills. Publishing 20 years ago is not the same as publishing now. So what are the next steps? Well, we need to exchange experiences regarding journal community management and how to position an academic journal in the digital market. And we also need to develop open access training materials for different groups of users, producers in the sense that those who produce the content are those who also use the content. Thank you very much. I hope I was able to provide you with some interesting ideas about open access scholarly communication. And I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, I look forward to answering them. Thank you.
Before we end this session, may I ask participants to unmute themselves to ask their question?
Excuse me, I didn't hear that very well.
I was requesting to the participant to ask a question.
Hello, ma'am. I am Professor Shubhangi Ramaswamy from Singapore Institute. Madam, thank you for sharing such a information
I
about.
Very, very badly. I can't hear the message.
Shubhangi madam and anchors, both of you are not audible actually properly. Ma'am, I request you to start once again. Shubhangi madam.
Madam, I am Professor Shubhangi Ramaswamy from Singapore Institute. Thank you so much for sharing informative information about open access publishing. My question is there any significant connection between citation and publishing in open access sources? is there any connection between citations and publishing in open access sources?
So it is just as significant as in traditional publishing. So there are certain journals where citation in the open access journal is just as high as in traditional journals. The main difference we saw is in terms of disciplines. So, for example, in the medical area, there is one journal where it's very important to publish, and that's PLOS. And at the same time, also in the medical area, you have the Lancet. So one is open access and one is closed, and they are both highly ranked. They're both highly cited. So there is no real difference between open access literature and closed access literature. In both, a citation play a role. It's just with open access. With open access literature or open access publication, that citation is also impacted by altmetrics, so alternative metrics, because they are able to access these open access journals. So we see that these altmetrics have an impact on citation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm pursuing MBA from Seagar Institute of Management. My question is this collaborative education is equally beneficial for the student as education before?
Have I understood your question properly? You're asking me whether this open access literature and publishing has an impact on collaboration between students?
Noela, her question is whether collaborative education is beneficial. That is her question. Education imparted.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it is important for collaborative education. I think collaboration is the way we work now. When you think about how researchers and scientists used to work, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago, each one in their own office, and nobody was allowed in, and nobody was allowed to enter and know their work, and it was a very lonely process. And research has become a lot more collaborative. I think education has become a lot more collaborative. It is a way, it is one of the core values now in education. So open access certainly plays a role here, because it allows us to share work. It allows us to, if one person has the literature, one can make it available to others. It's also about being able to reuse the materials that one has. And I think it's very important for students to learn these values. I think we've had to, throughout our careers, we've had to learn to collaborate gradually, because that is the way research works nowadays. And so I think that in terms of what we teach our students, open access is central. It's about providing them with a certain value, that it's not more valuable to publish one's work in a closed journal. If nobody can access it, it might be a highly ranked journal, but if nobody can read it, it is of no use. It is only useful when you make it available to a greater number of people. I hope that answered your question.
Any other question? Thank you, Dr. Noela, for a very thoughtful session.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. If anybody is interested in this kind of work, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I can make the presentation available to you. There's my email address on it, and if questions should pop up later, or you're interested in doing research in this area, I would be very, very happy to hear from you and to collaborate with you.
Yeah, Noela, just a minute. Any other participant who wishes to, ask some more questions? Just to get an insight and some guidelines from her. Any other? Okay, thank you, Noela. Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
The anchoring team, can you propose the vote of thanks? The anchoring team, can you propose the vote of thanks? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Noila, for a very thoughtful session. We will surely keep in touch with you about our research papers, and as you mentioned, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next anchor, please.
Good afternoon, all. I am Madhuri Mogal, host for this segment of the webinar. For this session, we have Dr. S.U. Gowde as a speaker. I welcome you, sir. Dr. S.U. Gowde is PhD guide of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Bharati Vidyapit and Tirak Maharashtra Vidyapit. Under his guidance, 24 students have completed their PhDs. Sir is very old member of Sinhagad family and was also a research head at Sinhagad Institute of Management for many years. Sir is member of RR Committee of University of Mumbai, member of Syllabus Framing Committee, University of Pune, and many more. I request Dr. Gowde to take over the charge of this session. Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Gowde sir, are you there?
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Welcome, Dr. Gowde. This is from Dr. Chandrani Singh. And sir, we are waiting to hear to you.
Sir, please can you unmute yourself? We can't hear you. Participants, please mute yourself.
Audience, please patiently stay put while we get him connected.
Phone on. Unmute कर.
चालेल पीपीटी
Sir, please begin with the session.
WhatsApp is okay or?
Hello, we would request Gauri sir to please begin with the session.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Good afternoon to all of you. It's a great pleasure for me.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's a great pleasure for me to be here among this August gathering. So today's topic is transforming education through globalization. It's a very interesting topic and which is to my heart. As far the globalization is concerned, as all of you are aware, that the whole world is a global village. And that is why globalization is important. Now, through globalization, new frontiers of knowledge become available much earlier. Now, for example, quantum computer, which is billion times faster than a supercomputer. Then energy storage, that is lithium, titanium batteries, supercapacitors, etc. Then space technology. Then there are also other things also. For example, data science, artificial intelligence, then machine learning. So all these sciences, all this knowledge could not have been possible without globalization. Now, as far as there are certain methods of collaboration for Indian universities. Now, first method is student exchange with universities abroad. Now here, as all of you are aware, that students of one country go to abroad and study in other universities. That is basically for the purpose of, cultural exchanges, then technology exchanges. They also get to know the economic, social, political, and other things regarding the other countries. And they become much richer in knowledge and culture. Then there is another method, that is faculty exchange with universities abroad. Now, just like student exchange, there is also a faculty exchange. Now, as far as the faculty exchange is concerned, that some of the faculties from one college or one university goes to abroad or another college and they teach there. Especially some expert teachers are there, they teach there. So that is the thing. Then, for example, that even if you take the local case, SIOM faculty may go to Simca and Simca faculty may go to Simca faculty may come to SIOM. So that is the exchange, that is a local exchange. So in the same way, faculty exchange program could be from university to university, that is one university to the university abroad. Now, you must have heard the name of C.K. Prahlad. C.K. Prahlad is a management guru and he's a great management thinker. Now, as per his vision was that there should be a campus of big institutes like Harvard and all these things. All these universities should have a campus on each of the continents. For example, Harvard may have a campus on USA, India, Europe, Africa, Australia, etc. Now, by this exchange, by this campus, there are many advantages. That one thing that is, every classmate of, student, every classmate of a student, he become, so every classmate become an alumni, and tomorrow he is useful. So this is one of the advantage. Then one can learn about the culture, history, geography, business, law, etc. Now it is very interesting to know that many of the CEO of the global companies, they are graduated from history. This is very interesting to know. Now, so the thing is that many things can be learned on from this campus on the continent. Then, by doing so, that every student will be a truly global manager. Now, as every student will be studying each semester on each continent, so he will know the traditions, his social thing. Then there are other ways, that is collaborate with global industry. So one industry can collaborate with other industries, and collaboration with global NGO. You know that there are many NGOs like United Nations, UNESCO, then Doctors Without Borders, Engineers Without Borders, World Bank, WHO, Greenpeace, etc. So here it is very interesting that some of the NGOs or doctors
Sir, you are not audible.
even some of the doctors, they travel to Chhattisgarh in such remote areas. So that is why they are being called Doctors Without Borders. Same is the case of engineers. Then, so these are the very renowned NGOs. So by working there, you will have a different experience, and this experience will help the students to have a placement in those institutions also after completing a particular course. Now there is one more thing, action-based learning. Now, normally the students are taught through case study methods. But then case study method, in case study method, as you are aware, that we are giving a problem, and the students are required to solve that problem. Now, according to C.K. Prahlad, this method is not appropriate. Which method is appropriate is action-based learning, because as per this method, now for example, we have to teach the marketing. Then the students will be asked to go to Kenya and do the marketing. So in this case, as far as the students are concerned, they are not aware at all that how to go to Kenya, where to stay, which language to be learned, or which which person is to be taken for help. So this is a very interesting concept, and this concept has brought Professor P.K. C.K. Pallat. Now, so you will find the importance of action-based learning. Next slide. Methods of collaboration for Indian industries. Now, there are many Indian industries which collaborate with the foreign industries, global universities. For example, KPIT India. It has tied up with Coventry UK, then Cummins India and Indian University, Kelly Business School, then Tata Group and Harvard, Michigan, etc. Ford and MIT, Michigan, etc. Tata Group and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Now, there is a certain misconception among the people that global means foreign, international. It is not necessarily so. Global means the status of that institution should be global. Now in India, that IISc Bangalore, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, IITs, IMS, these are the global institutes, even though they are in India. So that sort of misconception must not be there. So here what the companies do, that they send the employees, to the foreign countries. They learn in that particular university. Now here, many companies ask them to teach customized program. So, the employees are concerned, they get skill, and the efforts of the company is saved of imparting skill to the employees. And even the, as far as the employees are concerned, they get foreign degree by sitting in India. So this is one of the, ways as to how the collaboration is done. Then collaboration with global industries. So that is joint ventures, mergers, acquisition, alliances, that you must be aware that Tata Group has taken Jaguar and all these companies. So these are the acquisitions and all these things. Then think global and act local. Now, as far as the COVID-19 is concerned, has taught us that Indian must become self-reliant. Now, one thing is to be borne in mind. That is very important. That it's not that every global is good. No, what is important that even Indian goods are also good, and they should be made good. We should enhance the quality of those products and all these things. Now, our Prime Minister has said that Atma Bharat. So here the concept is this, that we have to produce the goods in India only and sell in India and also in foreign countries. So that is why we have to think global but act local. Now, over dependence on China, as was already said, that over dependence China is bad. It is because entire supply chain is broken because of this thing. So even in case of defense and all these things, we should not depend on other countries. We should try to manufacture our own defense equipments. Now, even in case of education, we have to improve the quality level of the student, of the institution or the universities, so that the foreign students will be attracted towards India. And by that, the foreign exchange also increase. So it is not that we should, whenever we send the students to the foreign countries, so they get knowledge. It is not so. Foreign students can also get the knowledge in India, provided we improve the quality of education. Now, stakeholders' approach to winning globally. Now here, one thing that is to be very important, that education, our theme is transforming education through globalization. So here, as far as the transforming education is concerned, it is everybody's responsibility. That is students, parents, teachers, owners and educational institutes, and the government. Now everybody has to change. Now as far as the students are concerned, they should have a positive attitude. They should have a learning attitude. As far as the parents are concerned, parents should also look after the students, and they should see that students, they are attending the college and all these things. Now as far as the teachers are concerned, almost all of us are teachers. So teacher is a guru. As far as the Indian culture is concerned, teacher has a great status. So teacher has to teach the students very well, and we have to see that all those students, their career get enhanced. Now, owners and leaders of the educational institutions, they have also a very good role to play, because they have to provide all the facilities, and they have to control all the colleges and all these things. Then as far as the government is concerned, government also has got a very good role to play. It is because government is also one of the very good stakeholder in India. Now as far as the India is concerned, as you are aware, that at least in Maharashtra, that many students, they are getting scholarships. So it is through these scholarships students are getting, education. So the government role is very important. So government should also try to see that the proper education is given to the student. So winning attitude requires desire, determination, discipline, fairness, and respect for fellow human beings. So conquer the mind and conquer the world. So these are some of the things that I would like to say. Now, as far as all stakeholders are concerned, they should try their best. Integrated efforts must be there. There must be burning desire with everybody, which would evaluate the equality of education. In turn, the quality of students. Transformation of education through global collaboration is one of the weapons, and that is not the only weapons. What is really required is the transformation of all the stakeholders, that is students, parents, teachers, owners of the institution, and the government also. We have to introspect ourselves. Each of us, let us make the beginning right from now. We have to change the mindset of each of us. Conquer the mind and conquer the world. Winning requires desire, determination, and discipline. The good human being is honest to himself and sensitive to others' needs. Let us try to be good human beings. We have to change the system. The successful CEO is the master of change. Others are victims. Effective CEO will create a future. He will not wait for it. So with this, I would like to complete my speech. Thank you very much.
Before we end our session, I may ask the participant to unmute themselves to ask few questions to sir.
Yeah, any questions for Dr. Gowde, please, from the participant side? Yes, please. All the professors who are willing to, do their research or go in for collaborations, either national or international, do you have certain questions for Dr. Gowde? Yes.
I do not have a question, but just like to highlight the importance. At Siagat, I think we have a culture of exchange, and many of our seniors went abroad for an exchange program. And our faculty also, they went to the Denmark to do some kind of research. So sir has very well highlighted the importance of the exchange, and they are now really doing well. and they got a lot of exposure because of that exchange.
Thank you.
Sir, commenting to our current collaborations, Sinhgarh as a group, so would you be able to state a few of, the collaborations we are currently into with foreign universities with respect to research or innovation? And then let us enlighten our participants from across that what we are doing in 1 or 2 lines.
You know that we have got a collaboration with Netherlands University, and we are doing very well on that count.
Thank you so much, sir. Can I ask, any other question, please?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, my name is Shivani, and my question is how globalization is going to help the students from rural area as they don't have proper network and tools.
This is an interesting question. You know that government is trying its best to provide the infrastructure. So without infrastructure, it is difficult.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Yeah, can we have the vote of thanks for Dr. Gauri, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for your online presence and an informative session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For the next short session, we have Mr. Manikant Roy with us. I welcome you, sir. Manikant Roy is alumni of Sinhgarh 2013 batch and he is currently pursuing research at IIT Delhi. He has published author papers, books, and patent. In his last role, he was faculty at Lovely Professional University, Punjab. Today, he will be delivering a talk on topic Introduction of PhD Program at IIT Delhi, Successful Mantra. I request Mr. Manikant Roy to unmute and begin with his speech.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, right? So I'll be straightforward going to the topic, right? I will definitely talk about the IIT, but before that, I have something really to share with, and it's a very quick and very quick at it, right? Okay. So as a teacher, you all often get a question like, okay, so what are you going to do to succeed as a student, right? Okay. And what I believe as a student, it is not only that you go to the college, you get a degree, you get a placement, and you go out of it, right? And especially for the beginners, right? Especially those who are in first year and second year, and it was a very good culture at Sinhgarh that they involve you in a lot of things and you have a lot of exposure, right? Okay, that too from the very first year. Okay, so some of the points I will say not advice. I think I'm too young to advise, but I'll say some actionable point. Which every student, whether you are in first year, second year, or you are in final year, and whatever stream you are, right? Okay, so it will be I can generalize it. Okay, so very first thing is that get a good grades. Trust me, having a good grades doesn't harm you. That doesn't mean I say that you go after the grades, right? But at least you go to the eligibility criteria. So I remember there is one famous quote during placement, तुम्हारे पास क्या है, मेरे पास criteria है. So have at least a grade which you can fulfill the criteria, either for higher education or for placements, right? And trust me, it doesn't harm if you have good grades, right? Okay. Then the second thing is that there's a lot of emphasis on learning by doing, right? So the project, no matter how small project you do, I want to highlight one of the project. It was only 10 marks question in a C programming. I did it, and later I won the best app award from Microsoft for that, and it was in top 100. So no matter how small project it is, even your teacher is giving assignment, you do it as a project, right? Okay, as much as you can, maybe from your first semester itself, right? Then there are a lot of DIY projects, DIY do-it-yourself project. So no matter how small it is, again, don't wait that your teacher should tell you, okay, you should go for a project because you have to submit. No, you can start whatever you are learning. You can try to implement in a project. It might be 100 line of code. Perfectly fine, and don't then go with that to your teacher. Hey, I have done it. Can you please help me to extend it? And probably your teacher will be able to definitely contribute to it. The next point will be learning from books, right? As so many articles I have seen from the ma'am also, the ma'am also, and this webinar also. Blended learning is going to be next benchmark from the traditional classroom to the virtual classroom, right? This is something called blended learning. To take the advantage of books, yes, at a time you may not be able to, comprehend it, you may not be able to keep pace of it because it's asynchronous in nature. But whatever books you can do not sign up for NPTEL for TR course if you do not have that much capability.
Sir,
Courses, yes.
sorry to interrupt you, but you are not properly audible.
Okay. Now I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Okay. So what I'm trying to make here is that point is you can learn from the MOOCs. Okay. So sign up for these small MOOCs. There are MOOCs which is of 4 hours only, 5 hours only, in fact 2 hours only, right? But you learn from it, right? It's a good learning. It is from the best of the university, right? And most of the time it's a free. It's a completely free. So rather than browsing through the social media, probably you can browse through the courses. It will definitely help you in a long run. Then whatever background you are, whether you are in a management, SIOM, or MCA program or any program, try to learn the code, right? Later or sooner you need to learn the code.
Manikant, just one sec.
Yeah.
The voice quality is a little distorted. We can hear you, but there's a whizzing sound as well. So if you can improve on your audio quality.
Yes, ma'am. Now I have fixed it. I'm better now.
Yeah, you are better now.
Perfect. Yeah. So whatever background you have, you please code. Try to learn code. And as NASA scientist has already told us, you have to have conflict with your philosophy friend, your history friend. So if you are a management student, please work with the MCA student, right? And then you can talk about maybe how to learn a Python, right? Or maybe data sciences. So now the next thing is that the best thing I learned in this year, at least it was that attend summer winter schools at prestigious school. You are really lucky to be in Pune. There is ISAC, there is a NCRA, Pune University organized so many summer winter schools, right? You can take help from your professors how to write an application or how to get it. Sometimes it requires recommendations. Probably you can reach out to your professor to help you out with applications. And trust me, these winter school will change your life like anything. I was lucky enough to meet Sanjeev Arora, which is a field gold medalist, right? Okay, field medalist, sorry, which is a Nobel laureate in mathematics. You can say that, right? Okay, so like that. Now, coming to the next point, do the internship. Nowadays, you don't need to go a virtual internship, right? In a physical internship, you can do a virtual internship. Probably you can do a summer internship. Some of your professors under, right? When it is a summer vacation or winter vacation, right? Yes. Now am I audible? Okay, it might be maybe an internet problem, right? But I'm trying my best. Okay, so the internship.
Just a minute, Manikant. You can go a little slow.
Okay.
You are going a little fast, so you can be a little slow, and then you can continuously check the audio quality so that the participants facilitate from the presentation.
Right.
Okay, and your
sure,
point.
I think. Okay. Okay. Sure. Please close it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, I'll be, yeah. So now the 8 point that I want to discuss with you is regarding to get some certification, right? Okay. So certification is not online course. Trust me, it is different than the online course. Online course is a online course no certification, but there's a complete certification that you can go and it can help you. Come back, can you please stop? Sorry. Yeah. So you can go for some certification. I'm really sorry for disturbance. There's some disturbance around. Okay. So you can go for some certification. Okay. Which can help you, like Oracle certification or Java certification.
Manikant, I again interrupt. There are 2-3 unknown users who are creating this problem. Please, I request them very nicely to please do get out of this webinar. We will be losing our value if you go on creating the disturbances. The 2-3 unknown users who are actually creating the noise. Please, I request you to please leave this online platform. Please mute yourself first and then you can converse. All the unknown users, Yes, Manikant, you can continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slowly. Yeah.
So I was on point 8 that you should get some certification out of your interest, right? Maybe you're interested in programming or database or something like that, because this helps you during the employment opportunity, when you see for the placement, or later also in your professional journey, right? And then again, a very important thing which I have experienced personally in my college during the second time, that you can start to lead any club, right? I still remember my professor in a very first semester made us member of CSI, right, Computer Society of India, right? And it was a truly an enlightening experience for me. Later I went and published a paper and presented there, right? Okay, so you can have such kind of activity which will give you a leadership quality, which is later stage in the life very important, right? Okay, maybe in your company you need to lead a team, or maybe in a research group you might be a senior, or you have to lead a team, right? So this will give you that. And then last but not least, organize techniques, hackathon with your friends. Of course, you can have a faculty advisor, right? So these were some quick tips. I will share this slide with amazing team that you can just follow this. So these were some actual point from my side about how your journey should be. It should not only be about coming to the college, going out of the college and getting grades and placement. It is more about doing the things. And trust me, when you all these 10 points, if you incorporate in your journey, right, it also prepares you for higher education. Probably you are applying for the MS, or probably you are applying to the IITs, which are going to the next right? It definitely differentiates you from the people from the crowd, right? So I hope you will take some of the points, and I'll be more than happy to help you out if you are interested in any of the points. So now I take the question, ma'am.
Yeah, actually the presentation, though it was informative, we could not understand you because there was a problem at your end, Manikant.
Right, I truly understand.
So let me again come back clearly. Manikant has got into IIT Delhi, and as far as I know or I understand, also got an offer from IIT Jammu for doing the PhD. The PhD is in which area, Manikant?
Data science analytics, and it was IIM Jammu. Yeah.
Analytics. So participants, if you wish to know the way in which he actually prepared himself to face the test by IIT Delhi and also face the interviews, you can come one at a time and question him. And Manikant, I would suggest by that time you transition to a laptop, or I don't know, because the voice quality is very, very bad, very, very low. So in this international platform, we request all the participants and all the speakers as well to have a proper audio quality so that our objective is met. So Manikant, can you now take the questions, please, one at a time? Can we have one at a time, question one at a time from the audience to Manikant? He will only speak on how he prepared himself and got, the PhD program course offering from IIT Delhi. Yes. Thank you, Manikant, for switching on your video. Yes. Any questions from the participants, please? So nobody is interested to pose a question for higher studies? Professors, students, postgraduate students, nobody is interested to more about the PhD program and the course offerings by the premier institutes?
Hello. Manikant sir, Professor Shubhangi Ramaswamy from SIOM here.
Yes,
I just wanted to, you mentioned in your presentation, learn technical writing by laptops. You mentioned in your presentation, you improve your technical writing by using latex.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I just wanted to know the benefit of that software.
Yeah. So basically, ma'am, since you are already professor and also students also, they have to prepare some reports. For example, we have to prepare our project reports or summer internship report, and we have to present it, right? And our project, my major project as well. So what happens when you document in a Word file, MS Word, for example, as the complexity grows, right, it is very difficult to formatting. The moment you shift your images little bit here and there, all formatting is gone, right? So as the complexity grows, formatting become a very challenging, right? So when you switch to the latex, which is for a scientific and technical communication, right, and usually used by professors and the all scientific community, so it becomes very easy for you to do not worry about the formatting. You worry about the content. You focus on content. I think that is what heart of your document that you want to communicate. And it also looks very beautiful and it is accepted also, right, in a better manner. So especially I will telling you some scenario. Whenever you are applying for internship, especially at the IITs and all, so they look at it whether if you have a proper format and if you know latex, because post internship you have to submit a report which they prefer to be in latex. So it is very good to know the latex.
Actually, I just wanted to know, normally it is used by only technical people or people from engineering background. Does it help for social science people as well?
Definitely, ma'am. Writing a technical documentation, it's like, no matter how good food you cook, but until it is not well presented, well served, it is having no meaning. So similarly, it is easy to learn. Definitely in initial time, you will find it difficult. But once you learn it, after spending some time, you will love it. And most importantly, most of the conferences or book call for books and all, they provide template. So what all you need to do is you need to put your content there. That's it. So your focus will be on content. You will not worry about how to generate an index and all. So no matter which background you are, you can definitely learn it. And currently, I am glad to tell you, IIT Bombay is offering this course just for 300. You can learn it.
Yes, yes. Actually, I know about that particular course. And one more question, like, does it help in paraphrasing?
I think that I need to check, ma'am. Paraphrasing means you want to have a synonym, right? For example, in the word, you can get multiple synonyms, something like that, if you install Grammarly.
I mean, reading and writing it again in our word.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So, that's what I'm saying. I need to check whether you can get suggestive synonyms, but that I need to check. But otherwise, all the things you can do what you can do in the words.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
So, Manikant, what did you do to actually get into this program? So, how did you prepare yourself?
Yes. It was really a tough journey, I must say, because first of all, the key to get into the real institution is that either IIT or IIM, that you do a lot of application, because there's a rejection rate is very high. Apart from that, as Professor Sankar has already said, we have to prepare fundamental very nicely. I still remember I had a PhD interview with IIT Delhi and Houston University. It was quality-based PhD and I reached to the final round. So they started from the very basic. And just one day before, I got a mail from the professor list of the subject. And it was all from my essay first semester and second semester. History, mathematics, programming, probability and statistics. So getting fundamental is important. It's perfectly okay if you don't know data science and machine learning AI. But you should know the C programming. And I am not trying to say question also. The question was how to, the one programming question was that how to start the variable versus third variable, right? So this is what we learned in our very first C assignment. So getting fundamental is the first thing. Second is another very important critical part of your application is your writing SOPs is a very important. This is where your professors can help you out, your seniors can help you out. Right? Writing SOP, you have to be truthful. Do not copy paste. You can see the samples, but do not copy paste anything. Be yourself. Right? Because everything at IITs or all the places, they go through the application checking. Right? So if you copy paste, you will be summarily rejected. So that will be second important component, especially in the IR application. I had to answer 5, 6, 7 questions, right? Even question itself. Certain cases they will ask you as okay, like they will be telling why you want to be in my certain area. So you need to say that okay, in my masters I have taken this electric papers, we do have electric papers. You can justify. Apart from that, in IM there was certain behavioral question like why you want to do PhD. What is your career question after PhD? Right? Why you want to come to this particular institute only IM? So you have to be very justified, very informative, go to the institute, go to the faculty and see. For example, I am Jammu is having Center of Excellence in Analytics, and I am working in that area. So I was able to justify. Okay, so these are the three components.
Sorry to interrupt you. Hi, Dhiren here, Professor Dhiren. I'm sorry. I'm looking nice to meet at this platform again. So just a request that earlier whatever you have guided us was really not audible.
Okay.
So now I think it would be okay. So whatever Chandrani madam has asked the question, actually it was also our questions. So please repeat the answer again.
Okay, so especially for the PhD programs, getting fundamental is the first, right? The process is very simple. You do applications. Application itself sometimes very difficult because there is a lengthy. As I told you in the case of IIM, you have to write SOPs. You have to write n number of question answers. At least
Again you are going distorted. Again you are going distorted, Manikant.
Now better? I think I have a mobile. Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to say, you have to be very truthful in your answers. And you should be able to justify.
Again you are going wrong.
Manikant, one suggestion, if you can follow, please keep your mobile outside for a few minutes, because if there is a login device too, it will create echo.
Okay. Yeah. So now I did it. Let's see how it helps. Yeah. I think our mobile network, so unfortunately that may be a problem.
Yes.
So basically, I'll just summarize. Do your application very nicely without any mistake. Write answers very truthfully and take help from your professor. Right? Do not copy paste and fundamentals. That's it. Great things.
Hello.
Yes. I think I can switch off my video. My video is established. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, and feeling sorry for not being able to listen you properly.
Yeah, even I am unfortunate. Yeah.
Dear audience, we will now have a lunch break. For the post-lunch sessions, we will meet sharp at 3:15 p.m.
Participants, it's really, I'm sorry to say that this inconvenience from our side is deeply regretted, that because we ran over a very poor voice quality, though Manikant had actually thought of contributing and sharing with you the learning pathways and getting the offerings from IIT Delhi and Jammu. I regret again for the small inconvenience caused, and we will see to it that at sharp at 3:15 we get back to you with a more robust audio and video quality. The objective is just to facilitate all the stakeholders, and in spite of the disruptions, the temporary disruptions and the turbulence, we will see to it that we help you in achieving certain goals and objectives. Thank you so much. We break for now and rejoin again at 3:15 sharp. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Another request would be for the 3:15 session, we will not be entertaining any unknown user. I repeat, for the 3:15 session, we will not be entertaining any unknown user. We need to see your names, your affiliations, and then only we will allow you to join. Otherwise, we'll forcefully move you out of this international platform. Thank you so much.
Madam, we will not allow to enter them inside the meeting if they have name unknown user.
That's what I'm saying. Any of the unknown users, if we do not find your names and affiliations, will not allow you to join the meeting. Repeat again. Unknown users will not be allowed to join the meeting, and if you by any chance join, we will force you out of this international platform, because we want to keep the value in terms of quality and keep on rendering to the objectives we have proposed.
Okay, one request from all participants, because that due to this inconvenience, we have made some certain settings change. So if you will keep waiting in the lobby, have patience. We will check the names and the credentials, and then we will allow. So do not get panic. Have patience. We will allow everyone, those who are having right credentials with the accounts. So might be they can keep waiting in lobby. It will show in your mobile or laptop device. So have patience. Thank you very much.